Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Let me make an announcement now. We have over 70 bills, and we're obviously not going to get to them all today. And we are scheduling a meeting for 2 o'clock Sunday. And otherwise, we're just not going to get it all done, so, which I do want to get everything done. So we're going to meet today till 6:30, and then on Sunday, starting at 2 o'clock. Okay? All right. To get started, two of the members, Senator Reeves and Senator Pillion, have asked that their bills be PBI'd, but let's do one at a time. Senator Reeves wants it PBI'd with a letter to the, I guess, which State Corporation Commission. All right, all those in favor of passing by Senate Bill 1006 with a letter going to the State Corporation Commission, vote aye. Those opposed, no. All right.
Ayes 14-0.
Okay. Senator Pillion has asked that Senator Pillion has asked that Senate Bill 1086 be passed by indefinitely with a letter to the HERC Commission.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, we don't have those. It's not on here.
Yeah, they're on mine.
Okay. Appreciate it. I'm ready.
All right, all those in favor of passing by indefinitely Senate Bill 1086, that's Senator Pillion's with a letter to HERC, vote aye. All those opposed, vote no.
Ayes 14-0.
Okay. We're going to start on, we won't have them all today because some of them are still a work in progress, but we're going to start on some of the, dealing with some of the energy bills today. And Senator, you're up.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, before we get started, I want to make a couple of notes first of all. Mr. Chairman, on this subcommittee, we have some really smart folks on the subcommittee. The first one is my chief lawyer, Senator Norman. So when of all the five, I'm the least of the five on the subcommittee. Senator Newman, Senator Marston, and Senator Lucas. We have a really smart committee. And the bills that we have heard, Mr. Chairman, the one that we could get out like 5-0. Some of the members went back and talked with their constituents. What happened was they want to do a substitute. And they failed to notify me on the substitute. And so I'm saying that this 5-0. So I'm saying that why do we have a subcommittee when the subcommittee voted on bills 5-0, no problem on both sides? Why would you have a substitute and then they go out because some company got with them and want to make a substitute? So, Mr. Chairman, I want to report those bills 5-0 that the committee have heard, 5-0, just as is, and get them out of here.
All right.
Unless you say otherwise.
As they came out of that subcommittee, 5-0, that's what we'll hear.
The first one, Mr. Chairman, is Senate Bill 354 by Senator Bell.
Senator Bell here. Well, we don't really need that since subcommittee heard it.
Right.
And the recommendation,
Mr.
you
Chairman,
want to discuss
yes,
354?
Yes, sir. What happened, that bill did not get out 5-4, but it was recommended on both sides, and they worked it out. When they worked it out, we passed it out because it was worked out. Then all of a sudden, yesterday, someone changed their mind. So, but because it got out of committee and both sides had agreed and someone changed their mind, that even though it got out of committee 3-1-1. And so Senator Bell, unless he had some objection, that I move that Senate Bill 354 be passed.
Okay. You want to briefly explain
Yes, sir.
354?
Yes, sir. 354, Mr. Chairman, requires that, Tom, I said you were itching to say something.
I'm not sure what, substitute from subcommittee?
Yes, sir.
The one from the subcommittee.
I'm talking about one from substitute. All right? All right, requires Dominion Energy, Virginia, and American Electric Power to achieve incremental net annual savings in accordance with the schedule that starts 2021, when savings are required to be at least 0.35% of the average annual energy retained sale. The measure requires the State Corporation Commission for any year that a utility meet the annual energy efficiency standards to allow for the additional recovery of a margin of its program operating expenses through the rates adjustment clause that provide the utility with a margin equal to the general rates of return of the Commonwealth.
Common
That's-
equity.
Yes, sir. That is the gist of the bill, Mr. Chairman. It has been worked out, even though some folks might change their mind, but in the subcommittee, it's been worked out. And so I'm going with what the subcommittee, that those who appear before this committee, it was worked out then. So what's changed afterwards, I cannot have that because I have no idea
Okay.
what they were talking about. I
All
move
right.
report. This is substitute for the bill. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All those in favor of adopting the substitute, say aye. All right, the substitute is now Senator Newman.
Maybe
Yes.
to,
The substitute that we have, the one that for the full committee, Mr. Chairman, I'm not talking about the one that was made up yesterday. I'm going by the substitute that was presented to this, the subcommittee.
Mr.
I'm
Chairman.
not going by what passed out to the subcommittee.
All right, Senator Newman.
Tom, just to refresh our memory, what does that have American Electric Power at? When did this stop? The substitute that we just put on it, what's the percentage?
Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee adopted 2 amendments to the substitute that Senator Bell presented. There was one about excluding large customers.
Right, industrial.
Yes, sir. And then a second one that Senator Bell brought. I have a substitute, but it has additional changes that Senator Bell was going to ask for, so I'm hesitant to pass that out, given Senator Spruill's.
Okay?
Well, Mr. Chair, if we don't have a substitute to review, I'm not sure how we can vote on a bill.
We do have, do we have time, do we have that substitute?
I have a substitute with the subcommittee changes, as well as some additional changes from Senator Bell.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Bell.
I will follow the subcommittee chair's lead, and he did not want any amendments or changes after that. I support that.
Okay. Well,
That includes Senator Newman's, I believe you were the one that made that amendment at the committee.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, and these are the substitute that was made by the subcommittee. The subcommittee may aware of these substitute
that's
changes.
before us now. Senator Newman.
Mr. Chairman, I think the subcommittee, and Senator Spool can remind me, I think we'd also put in the industrial as an amendment to the substitute. Is that correct, Tom?
Yes, sir, it is, it was taking out, basically, to put the industrial piece back to where it was after Senate Bill 966 in 2018.
Right. Mr. Chairman, I just asked the subcommittee chairman, I think the subcommittee voted on that amendment.
That's right.
And if we could just, I move that amendment because the substitute,
Okay.
the committee agreed to it.
All right. And that amendment does what?
Takes industrials basically out of it.
Okay. All right, you've heard the amendment. All those in favor of adopting that amendment from Senator Newman, say aye.
Mr. Chairman, just point of clarification. The amendment is what was adopted in the subcommittee?
In the
meeting?
subcommittee.
Thank you.
All right, those opposed? No. No, all right. Amendment's adopted. The substitute voted 5-0 out of subcommittee with
Mr. Chair.
an amendment.
Mr. Chair, I heard the subcommittee chair say the vote was 3 to 1 to 1. We still don't have a vote. Still don't have a bill in which to look at. We can't look at what we're voting on.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that we do have a copy of the subcommittee report. I'm not talking about the one that was made up yesterday, the one that was before the
Can
subcommittee.
you pass that out, Mr. Stevens?
Mr. Chairman, again, I apologize. I have the substitute that Senator Bell presented to
That's correct.
subcommittee with the two amendments the subcommittee adopted, but I also have additional changes in it from
No, the
Senator
additional
Bell.
changes are
Right,
not
and
going to be heard.
that's fine, I understand that, but I'm saying I do not have that to pass out without the additional changes.
Well, that's going to have to go by
By
temporarily.
temporary, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, next
Could
we
you
have
get-
Senate Bill 379.
Has it been worked out to include the compromise of
No, that was not in there. That's not in there. No, not that one. That's not in there. I got hers. I got hers. Okay, good, okay. Fine, you're fine. Okay, okay. Okay, all right. Okay. Mr. Chairman, we can let that one go by. Yeah. Mr. Chairman, we can let that go by.
All right, so 354 will go by temporarily.
Mr. Chairman, Senate Bill 379.
Hold on, Mr. Stevens, anybody will get the Xerox work?
Okay.
Okay.
Senate Bill 379, it's by Senator Mark Pike. That was recommended by the chair that they go by for the day, and we heard that on Sunday.
Okay.
Senate Bill 629, patron surveyor, Scott Surveyor, authorized the establishment of a community solar garden, which required to be owned by a subscriber organization that has at least 10 subscribers. Subscriber will receive credit on their utility bills from energy generated at the solar facilities in proportion to their size of their subscription. This bill, there was a substitute in this subcommittee, and this bill was reported out by the subcommittee 5-0. The substitute in the committee. And look at for the substitute. Now, I'm not talking about what's new. The substitute adopted by the committee was reported 5-0. We heard the substitute in the subcommittee.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Silver.
Mr. Stevens has the substitute that the committee approved, plus one change that I requested. If we strike my one change, it'll make it consistent with what the subcommittee approved and what I believe the Senator Spruill's policy today is.
All right, we're going to need copies of all so.
We got that. We have the.
You can strike part, we can strike part of this, get it to what?
I'll get to it, yeah. Mr. Chairman, you want me to explain what needs to come out?
What?
You want me to explain what needs to come out to make
Wait a
it
minute.
consistent?
Wait a minute. He about passing it out. He passing it out.
Okay, what needs to come out?
To make it consistent with what the subcommittee approved, we would need to strike lines 24 and 25.
Hold on. Since we haven't adopted it, it doesn't matter. 24, 25, what else?
And lines 87 through 91. Mr. Stevens can correct me if I'm wrong.
All right, 87 through 91. That's correct.
Yep.
Okay.
And that would make it consistent with what the subcommittee approved.
What's left is, okay. Is there a motion to adopt the substitute?
So move.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the substitutes before us. I've got a question. Scott, is this somewhat similar to what they passed in Maryland several years ago for community solar farms?
I don't know, but I know that 40 states currently authorize community solar, so the answer I'd say is probably.
The reason I ask is that the Washington Post did a story about a year ago, and at 8 farms, there's been 8 applications for this, and all 8 applications were voted down because the surrounding neighbors didn't want, I guess, the property used for farm, for that. So I was wondering if this was similar to that.
Mr. Chairman, what I would say is I have no idea what Maryland's done or how
Okay.
they've done it, but this has been very successful in other states. I have a house in New York that I have on a
Okay.
community net metering.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I think we need to move my line amendments.
Pardon?
We need to move my line amendments to make the substitute consistent with the
Okay.
substitute the committee considered. Second.
Well, we need to vote to take them out. Yeah.
Right.
All right, those in favor of removing, first of all, we got to get the substitute before us.
We did.
We did.
did, yes.
All right, now, we need to remove lines 24 and 25 and 87 through 91. All those in favor of doing just that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The bill as came out of the subcommittee is before us.
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and second that it be reported. All those in favor of the Senate Bill 629 as an amendment in the nature of a substitute, record your vote aye. Those opposed, nay.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Okay. Senator Spruill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 504. That bill was heard in committee, subcommittee on 120, and it came out 5-0. But since then, these are one of the bills, Mr. Chairman, that the committee, subcommittee heard and recommended, but the patron has a substitute that has not been heard yet. So I move that this be cut over to Sunday. We have 8 of these bills, and I was trying to explain to them that these bills that came out 5-0, somehow they talked with somebody, want to amend these bills, then we'll be here all night.
Right.
So because of that, Mr. Chairman, the patron wants this bill to be heard on Sunday because there's a substitute.
Okay, so it's
we
bye
have
for
not.
the day.
Yes, sir, bye for the day. Thank you.
Another Sunday.
Senate Bill 710. Jennifer McCullough for 710. Now, Mr. Chairman, supposedly, I was trying to say that we want to hear bills that's been worked out because the chairman said he wanted to go to dinner, not all night long. So she's saying the 710 was recommended 4-1, but there was a substitute that was agreed by everybody, I believe. So Senator McCullough's here. We have that.
What's the status?
710.
Was the bill reported out?
The bill was reported out 4-1, and we do not have a substitute.
The substitute was reported out.
Now, there was no substitute on the bill, Mr. Chairman.
You said you have a substitute.
Well, Mr. Chair, if you want to hear this one on Sunday, there was a substitute that was presented to Legislative Services, but based on Tom's face, I'm not sure he received it. The substitute eliminates all of the concerns that anybody had with
Right.
it, but if you would like to hear it on
Well,
Sunday, we can.
let's pass it by for the day and hear it on Sunday when, we have everything in front of us.
Okay.
Okay?
Senate bill, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Norman.
I don't mean to be a fly in the ointment or a protagonist. One of the reasons we're having to meet on Sunday is because of exactly what's going on right now.
Yep.
And it is just no reason for it. To spend the time and people's investment in subcommittees and Senator Spruill trying to work it out. He could not be any more forceful in that committee. And then we come and find ourselves that we got substitutes, or we got substitutes with amendments. It's just unacceptable. And that's my editorial comment.
Thank you for your editorial comment. Does anybody else have an editorial comment? All right.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman,
Senator Spruill.
with what this was recommended by the full committee 4-1. And
That's
so
SB
I moved.
710?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But it's now it's different than what you recommended.
But, Mr. Chair, we don't have a subcommittee, we don't have a substitute. How can we read
We
what?
don't have it yet.
The substitute was not what was coming for the subcommittee. Now, Mr. Chairman, if we are going to allow every bill that we have to have a substitute after the committee's already met, then we should just stop, don't hear none of them. Because everybody got to change after the fact. So I'm saying that these bills that got out 5-0, now all of a sudden they got a substitute because some companies don't like it.
No,
Senator McClellan,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question.
Yes,
A bill was voted out
Yes.
4-0.
yes.
Subsequent to that bill being
4-1.
voted out,
Or one.
you have another substitute on the same bill.
Over through the weekend, the stakeholders continued to negotiate, and the substitute, they have prepared has no opposition. So we could vote it as is and do the substitute on the floor, or we could wait until Sunday.
That's your call.
But my understanding is with the substitute, there is no opposition to 710 at all.
Senator Norman.
This is not so much of an editorial, but in, I guess, indirect defense of Senator McClellan. These energy bills are, as you well know, Mr. Chairman, are involving a lot of parties. And the subcommittee acted on them, but then there has been some negotiations going on a number of these bills
Yes.
once the substitutes were reported out. And I guess going back to my editorial comment, it would be much more helpful if those that are negotiating the parties would try to do it before it goes to subcommittee rather than hashing it out
Right.
here.
Agreed, Mr. Chair, and all I will say in their defense is they've worked very, very hard through last night to address every possible concern, and I'd hope that we could address their substitute, if not today, then on Sunday. We will have it. I have it. I thought it was sent to Tom. We will make sure he gets it before the close of business today. And if you would like the substitute emailed to each of your offices, I'd be happy to do that as well. So you have plenty of time before Sunday to read it.
Mr. Chairman,
Wait a second, Senator Spruill.
Mr. Chair, you the chair, I will by your ruling, but remember, this is not the first time. We are acting like this is the first time that these people have seen these bills. We had them from day one, almost 3 weeks. So they ain't like they just had it yesterday. So
Here's my suggestion. Let's go ahead and vote out what they did, and you can amend it on the floor and
Okay.
explain it, okay?
Yep.
That way, we'll save time on Sunday.
I moved the 4-1 be, the 710 be
710.
reported.
Was that a substitute?
No, sir.
All right, was it amended?
No, sir.
All right, then the motion is to report 710 as amended. I mean, it wasn't amended, report 710. All those in favor of reporting 710, say aye, or vote aye, okay? Opposed, no.
ayes 12, noes 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 731. Rates of return investment on electric utilities. Provide that the State Corporation Commission in determining a fair rate of return on common equity for an investor-owned electric utility bill after July 1, 2020 should not set much rates lower than the average of the authorized return of the Commonwealth equity that is set by the appliance. This is also presented to by Senator McCollum. It was voted out of committee with the amendment 3-2.
So,
And we have that for us.
And there have been no changes to this since
Yes, sir.
the subcommittee.
was
And
there a
we have that-
general
we have that.
consensus on this rate of return?
Yes, there was no opposition to this bill.
Okay. When we, 2007, when Senator Norman and I had the bill that re-regulated, we deregulated in the late 90s, the rate of return that we used then was the average rate of return on similar utilities in the southeast region. How much does this bill vary from the original bill?
So, under current law, the commission is required to use that average as the floor. And this bill would say you use that as the range. And so it basically gives them a little more flexibility consistent with traditional rate-making principles. They still will look at the
Right.
peer group, but it doesn't automatically
Right.
say their
Okay.
average is the floor.
All right.
Move the report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 731 by Senator McClellan be reported. All those in favor, vote aye. Those opposed, no.
ayes 12, noes 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 842 by Senator Peterson, recommended will be continued, carried over to 2021.
Okay,
So move.
all right. Need a vote on those in favor of carrying over Senate Bill, was it 842?
Yes, sir.
To the 2021 session. Record your vote, aye. Those opposed, no.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Okay,
Senate Bill 794, Senator Lewis. Mr. Chairman, we roll Senate Bill 302, which is Senator Stanley, and Senate Bill 593, that's Peak, into 794.
wait, which was the other one?
Senate Bill,
539?
yes, sir, 593. It's a utility easement located on broadband facilities. Declare that it is a policy.
593. Hold on.
794, we roll it.
Yeah, that's what I said, 539. He said 93.
Let's say
And
593.
302, right, I've got that.
Okay, you got it. Okay,
Into-
thank you, sir. Okay,
Into,
they were rolling to 794,
794.
which is
okay.
Senator Lewis bill. It's a utility easement location of broadband facilities. Declare that it is policy of the Commonwealth an existing easement for the location to use the electric facility to be used to provide and expand broadband service. We do have a substitute.
I gotta go give a process.
Mr. Chairman?
Wait a minute, let's get the substitute out first, if you
Okay.
don't mind.
Before we do anything, let's vote. We need to cast a vote to incorporate 302 and 539 into 794. All those in favor of doing that, but aye. Okay,
Ayes 15, no 0.
all right.
And 739, 794 is Senator Lewis bill.
Right,
Okay? It's a utility easement location of broadband facilities. Declare that it is policy of the Commonwealth that an existing easement for the location and use of electric facilities be used to provide or expand broadband service. The measure also limit the damage that a landowner may be awarded in any trespass action against a public utility arising from the installation, maintenance, operation of any utility pole, wires, or conductors and others. Mr. Chairman, so this was recommended by the committee 4-0.
okay. All right, we need to adopt the substitute.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
794, we have a motion and a second to adopt the substitute. All those in favor of adopting the substitute to 794, say aye. Aye. All right, 794 is before us.
Okay.
Is there anyone here from the State Corporation Commission? No. The reason I ask that is I just wanted to note, them to note that when we use the term as in the public interest, we mean it's in the public interest, and they should act accordingly. Okay. All right, bills before us. Any
Move the report.
questions? All right, there's a motion to report. Is there a second? All right, it's been moved and seconded that the substitute to Senate Bill 794 with 302 and 539 be enrolled into it, be reported. All those in favor, say aye, vote aye. Opposed, no. It is reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Need a announcement? 13.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Next, Mr. Chairman, I want to look at Senate Bill 992 by Senator Spruill, the carbon trading program allocation allowance for new facilities directed by the Air Pollution Control Board to allocate allowance for 3 years to any electric power generating facilities that was permitted prior to June 26, 2019, effective date of the broadband carbon regulation. The bill requires an accounting comparison to actual emission at the end of the 3-year period and the allocation of further allocation pursuant to the board regulation. This bill, Mr. Chairman, was recommended full committee 5-0. Now so move.
Any amendments?
No amendments.
All right, you just heard 992. There's been a motion and a second to report 992. All those in favor vote aye, those opposed, no.
I'm sorry.
Ayes 15, no zero.
All right. Mr. Chairman, next one is Senate Bill 860, Senator
Senator
Mason.
Mason.
All right.
And Mr. Chairman, that's,
Wait a minute, chill, Doc, chill. Be cool. Let me do my thing first. Mr. Chairman, this bill, electric utility offshore wind bill, was heard by the committee. It was recommended by the committee, but the patron has a substitute that we do not have, and it has not been heard by the committee yet. So because we have not heard the subcommittee, I move that this bill be cut over to Sunday.
That's
860. Yes, sir. We do not have a substitute that was put forth before us. It's been put in there. But Mr. Chairman, I want you to know that these bills like this, that come out like this, I'm just the sub-chair, and you are His Highness. If I had my way, I would strike all these bills that did this to me. I'd rather kill them all, but you won't let me do that. But this bill has been recommended to report on Sunday.
That's 860.
860 for Sunday, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, next.
Senate Bill 754, Marston, utility, electric utility on bills. Authorize the electric cooperative to establish an on-bills program under which the cooperative and the customer enter into an agreement that provides for the cost, including financial costs, energy efficiency measures to be paid by or through the utility and be paid by the customer by means of an electric savings. Mr. Chairman, we do have a substitute. It was recommended by the committee to report, and we do have a substitute on this bill.
All right, you want to explain exactly what this bill does?
Senator Lewis from
Senator Marston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On-bill tariffs are a mechanism for customers to install energy efficiency measures and pay for them with a small monthly charge on their utility bill. This is a situation where the amount of savings they'll get from the energy-saving things they install in their home, even though they're paying for it on their electric bill, their actual overall monthly bill could potentially be less, and in many cases is. So it's the gift that keeps on giving. These energy efficiency measures can include heating and air conditioning systems, water heaters, weatherization, insulation, window and door modifications, appliances and automatic or interconnected control systems. The bill authorizes this on-bill tariff programs. It's only for the co-ops, not for the investor-owned utilities. The bill is intended to make the pay-as-you-save on-bill tariff program available to Virginia. It's being done in a lot of other states. It's very successful. It's a wonderful way of people seeing that their efficiency investments are paying off by what they end up seeing on their bill. And that is the bill, and I think it reported 5-0 out of committee.
So the financing would come from where?
It's a very, very low-cost loan, 0.5%, I think, something like that, from the arranged by the
utility,
by the co-op, by the utility.
Co-op or utility or
Co-op, the cooperative electric.
So it only applies to them.
Only applies to them, not Dominion or APCO.
Because it says in the summary, the bill provides terms for such on-bill tariff programs for investor-owned utilities.
And that is in the summary, but the substitute.
The substitute took that out.
That took that out. That was part of the negotiations.
The, okay, co-ops, all right.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we got to adopt a substitute.
Move the substitute.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yes, say aye. All right, it's now before us.
Move to adopt as amended.
Move to report. All right, Senator Newman moves to report the amendment nature of substitute. Second by Senator Spruill. All those in favor, Vote yay, and those opposed, the opposite. All right. Okay, making progress.
That's 15-0.
We'll be almost down, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 988 and Senate Bill 998 by Senator Lucas. She requested, even though they were recommended 4-1 by the committee, but she wanted to recommend that these bills be heard on Sundays.
Okay.
So I so move.
BFD till Sunday.
988 and 998.
All right, without opposition, it'll go by for the day and heard Sunday.
Okay.
All right,
We got two more, Mr. Chairman.
okay.
All right, Senate Bill 632, Scott Survey, Public Utilities, Energy Storage, Capacity in the Commonwealth. Provide that it is the objective of the General Assembly that a 1,000 megawatts aggregated energy storage capacity be placed into service on or before July 1, 2030. The bill provides that energy storage facilities will, with an aggregated capacity of 1,000 megawatts, are in the public best interest, and that prior to January 1, 2030, the construction by a public utility of one or more energy storage facilities located in the Commonwealth have a rate capacity that does not exceed 1,000 megawatts. Finally, the bill requires that the State Corporation Commission in the annual report required by legislation written act in the 2018 section to assess the aggregated annual new construction and purchase of energy storage facilities. There was a substitute, I believe, on that, Mr. Chairman. We have a substitute want to pass out on that one? And it was reported. You have that? We got that substitute. He told me to go with what I have here.
Yeah, we got, finance needs those, so we have to, oh, yeah. I have a question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Serville's not here. With the current technology, what's the largest amount of storage right now that we have available?
Is anyone here could answer that? Is anyone here could answer that question, please? Yes, sir.
Mr. Murray, come on up.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Sproul, depending on what you mean by storage, we've got one of the largest storage facilities in the world in Bath County, 3,300 megawatts roughly. It's a pump storage facility.
Right, no,
And then battery storage will be much smaller. The world's aggregate storage capacity is in the low thousands right now. It is a critical policy problem facing our industry. As there's more renewables, there needs to be a commensurate amount of storage. So that's something certainly we and other utilities, other stakeholders are working on. But this is a notable amount of storage.
Is there much research and development being done in this area?
There is what I would describe as an all of the above approach to storage, whether it's the school bus legislation that you all are going to hear on Sunday, using school bus batteries, or it's more traditional utility scale batteries, or whether it's the very large pump storage. There's no one solution, all of the above. I will say there's more opportunities for technology advancement in this area.
You're saying the storage facility, not just one battery.
Yes, sir. All the technologies have gotten better. Given the amount of renewable energy anticipated, they will all need to get better still.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, we adopted the substitute? I don't think we have.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right,
Substitute.
there's been a motion to adopt the substitute to Senate Bill 632. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right,
With that, Mr. Chairman, the committee recommended reported 4-1.
all right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 632, as the amendment in the nature of a substitute, be reported. All those in favor vote aye. Opposed, no.
Ayes 11, noes 3.
All right. Mr. Chairman, we have two left, and we'll be done.
Okay, sure.
First, Mr. Chairman, if we could go back to 354, that was the one, Mr. Beverly, that you had. We don't have that? That's not it? Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, we have one left, and while we're waiting on that, it's 851. I think we do not have it. Mr. Chairman, what we're doing is we roll Senate Bill 532 and Senate Bill 876 and two Senator McCullough Bill 851. So I move that those be rolled to
532, and what
851.
was the other?
532 and 876.
Into 710?
Into 851. 851.
Okay.
Tom?
All right, you want to explain exactly what this bill does? We need to adopt it. Is this a substitute?
Yeah,
Well,
Oh,
move to incorporate, Mr. Chairman.
all right, you want to, that's Senate Bill,
532 and 876 into 851.
all right, you heard that. All those in favor of merging 532
876.
and
876.
876 into
851.
851, vote aye.
Ayes 13, no 0.
Mr. Chairman, on this one, you all right? On this one, Mr. Chairman, I don't think we have the substitute, but I do want to finally give a senator credit. Senator McCullough did come to me, explain to me, and talk to me about it. So everybody else, but I want to thank you for at least trying to explain to me what's happening, Mr. Chairman. So this will be have to heard on Sunday, because we do not have the substitute made. And talked with the folks about this one, talked with Senator McCullough about this one. And so on this one, Senator, I recommend that we heard now 851 will be heard on Sunday.
Senator McClellan, I noticed on your bill, as the measure adopting 2,400 megawatts of storage, and the previous bill had, I think, 1,000.
so that's one of the reasons we need the substitute. This is the Virginia Clean Economy Act. This is one that all of the stakeholders were working through last night, reached an agreement in principle. They are reducing that to writing and need to make sure that it is, in fact, the words match what they agreed to, and that any bills that are similar, it is consistent. And so they could not get that done in time for this meeting.
Okay.
My understanding is this will be heard on the House side tomorrow, and so there will be a substitute available tomorrow that can be heard here on Sunday.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
All the sides are working on that, or you've reached an agreement? Bill?
Mr. Chairman, Bill Murray from Dominion. I'll echo what the senator said. Some of the complexity this committee has, there's a number of standalone measures that amend the same code sections as this broad bill. The broad bill discussions were a series of gives and takes where the agreement will conflict with some of the standalone measures, but that's something that we'll be happy to discuss in Sunday, because as you know, in these types of, there's probably 40 substantive provisions in the introduced bill, and as a result, there were a series of gives and takes where everything sort of relates to everything else in this type of discussion. It's a very, from our perspective, a very balanced agreement, but it is different from a number of individual standalone bills.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Senator Norman.
Okay.
Before you leave, Bill, it's just because of my intemperance today. I don't think that we want to, entertain or have ongoing negotiations on Sunday. We're playing beat the clock right now. So my encouragement would be to work it out.
They're pretty much, they're there.
Yes. I think we're at the posture.
Before.
That's right.
I'll invite the other folks who are talking about this to disagree. We're at this stage where the lawyers need to write this up,
Mr. Chairman,
which is the hard part.
for 3 weeks, on all of these bills, I've been told the Census Bureau, we are right here. That's what I've been told.
Oh, I've been hearing it since last summer.
Then I asked them last Monday, I asked all states last Monday, work it out by Friday. And they all assured me it'd be worked out by Friday. And here we go again, you turn it over. So you the godfather.
Okay.
No, you the godfather.
I'm the godfather.
That's right. You're His Highness. So it's your call, so we're gonna carry this over. I understand, in this one, I can understand, because Jennifer, no disrespect to you, really worked hard on this one. So we hope, Mr. Chairman, that this one will be carried over by Sunday. With that, Mr. Chairman, other than 354, I am done, and all the rest of them on Sunday. Now, lastly, Mr. Chairman, do we need to have a subcommittee meeting after this meeting? I'm asking you.
Oh, well, you should be the determinant of
Okay.
that.
Now, to those, the bills that been a substitute, that, can we, Tom, any way possible, get some of them substitutes back to us after this meeting's over with? All right, if the one that we carried for Sunday, the substitute, and we can get those substitute to us, when this meeting's over with, and then we can hear those substitute this evening, and that way to Sunday, Tom, you frowning your face up. Take your time, brother. Don't start stuttering. That's what I do.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Sproul, I think if we're taking it by, in order to give people time, I don't understand the point of taking it by till later this afternoon.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Stop it there. Okay, you good. Okay.
We'll hear it on Sunday.
It'll be fine. Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
so with that,
We will definitely hear your bill on Sunday.
the last one we have, Mr. Chairman, is,
Thank
do we have the report on 354 yet? We don't, Mr. Chairman, if that's the case, then 354, we go back to Sunday as well.
Okay.
And then we are done.
All right. Okay, let's get to Health Insurance Subcommittee report. George, you had, there were 3 balanced billing bills there, and whichever, they need to go to finance if they get out of here. So, do you have a report?
I have a report, but I also have a request that these 3 bills be passed by for the day.
Here's the problem, the Finance Committee needs these bills.
Yes, and I talked with the chair of Finance Committee, and I think there will be a Finance Committee brief meeting on Monday morning, so.
On Monday. All right. All right, so Senator Favola, Senator McDougal, and Senator Barker. All right, your bills will be taken up on Sunday,
Yes.
okay? The Finance Committee says they can meet on Monday, but they're going to have an awful lot because of whatever comes out of here. There's an awful lot that are supposed to go there. Let's see, who else is?
Mr. Chairman,
Senator, yeah.
want to make a motion that we pass by some bills for the
Okay.
day. SB 8, SB 80, 180,
Remember,
sorry.
Hold on. SB 8's needed by the Finance Committee.
Could we do those Sunday and give them to them by Monday morning as well?
I don't want to say that without talking with, can somebody
I'm
get
gonna
hold of
strike
Shannon
mine.
Howe?
Mr.
April
Mr.
Keys?
Chairman,
Mr. Chairman,
Hold on, Senator Norman.
having sat in the position where Senator Howell is now,
Right.
this is like a tsunami, and not just on your bill, but we have referred so many bills to Senate Finance where in actuality, the policy decision is being lateral, and there are significant time-consuming legislation like casinos, gray machines, all kinds of bills are being sent up there. And I would just say to you, Senator Howell is doing her absolute best, but
Okay.
somebody's going to find themselves on the short end. And
Mr. Chairman,
the
well, we
need to
legislation
hear
is not
these
gonna
bills.
get-
Mr. Chairman, I'll withdraw my motion on those bills, but I'll ask that the one I think that Finance didn't want, SB 426, be passed by.
Hold on.
And
Let me see what you're passing by. Here, it's mine. All right,
And Mr. Chairman, I have good news. I want to strike Senate Bill 180 since I signed on to your bill and prevailing wage.
Okay.
But I have another bill to talk to you about today.
well. All right, those, we need to vote on striking SB 180. All those in favor of striking that, vote aye.
Ayes 15-0.
Senate Bill, we're going to do Senate Bill 8 first. May as well get to it. Prevailing wage.
Mr. Chairman, I made the motion on pass by SB 426 for the day.
That's fair share. That doesn't need to go to finance. Okay. All right, without objection, 426 will be by for the day. All right. Prevailing wage, Senate Bill 8. And there's 32 states, by the way, that have a prevailing wage, 18 do not. I'll present it. You want me to go out there? Does that make you happy? All right. Senator Lucas or Senator Norman?
No, I got lots of editorial comments.
I'll bet you do.
Sounds to be very efficient today.
Senate Bill 8, Senator Saslaw.
Okay. That's a prevailing wage rate. It requires as it says, the contractors and subcontractors and under any public contract with a state agency for public works to pay the wages, salary, and benefits and other remuneration to any mechanic, laborer, or worker employed, retained, or otherwise hired to perform the services in connection with the public contract. The Commissioner of Labor and Industry is required to determine the prevailing wage for such public contracts on the basis of the applicable prevailing wage rates determinations made by the Department of Labor. Now, this is, the Davis-Bacon Act on federal contracts steps in, and they have this. I might add, of the 32 states, 5 or 6 of them are right-to-work states that have the prevailing wage. And, as I've said before on numerous occasions, I'm not interested in finding the cheapest labor to work on these contracts. I'm interested in finding the best. And if the prevailing wage is more likely to get you that than trying to find the cheapest labor that you can, that's the whole purpose of the bill.
Madam Chair.
Senator Norman.
Like I said, 32 states have this.
Madam Chairman, my question would be is that I understand the 32 states and 8 are right to work, but do you have any empirical data?
I'm having trouble hearing
Let
you.
me finish. That would demonstrate in Virginia that the wages that we have been paying, which are not your prevailing wage, have resulted in inferior or subordinate work?
That I couldn't, do I have any data on that? To be honest with you, I don't have the data on that, Senator Norman.
Madam Chair.
I have in queue Senator Morrison and then Senator Obenchain.
Thank you. Senator
Senator
Saslaw, your bill starts at first dollar for prevailing wage. How many states do, have a threshold where it begins to take place?
When I looked that up, Some of the states did have it, and it varied anywhere from 25,000 to a $500,000 for when it kicked in.
Do you, Madam Chair?
I'm just telling you.
Marston?
Do you see any value in placing a threshold in there?
As long as you stay within that range.
What'd you say your range was?
That, if I'm not mistaken, I'd go back and check, but it was, I think it ranged anywhere from 25,000, some were even lower than that. I think one state had a $500,000. But the bulk of them were a lot lower than that.
I see. Would you consider it a friendly amendment to do $250,000 threshold?
Yeah, I could go for that, sure.
I have a substitute motion.
There's a substitute motion, Senator.
We make it 25 million.
No.
That's my motion.
All right. I would hope you all would vote that down. That's absurd.
Senator Saslaw, could you suspend while we adopt the substitute?
Sure.
I move the substitute.
Second. It's been moved and properly second that the substitute be adopted. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No, same saying, right? Senator Saslaw?
Yeah.
Okay, I have in queue others who would like to speak. I have now Senator Newman and then Obenshain.
Senator Saslaw, is there any difference, and I just got to substitute, in the prevailing wage maybe in Danville versus in Winchester?
Well, the Department of Labor would make those determinations. I'm sure there might be, but I can't tell you what it is. I mean, I haven't memorized it for everywhere in Virginia. But I'm sure there is.
Madam Chair,
But I can't tell you, Senator Newman, I can't tell you what it is.
Madam Chair, I'll just wait. Maybe at some point, someone from the Department of Labor can just help us with that. Thank you.
Senator Obenshain?
If I may kind of tag along behind Steve's question, and maybe you won't have the answer to this and somebody who speaks will, but assuming that there are indeed different levels of prevailing wage in different parts of the state, is it not true, though, that if somebody from my part of the state has a mechanical contracting company and they do most of their business in Northern Virginia, that
they would have to pay the wage for Northern Virginia, even if they're from your area.
So even if they would, if they'd have to take either different employees, fire or raise the wages of all of their employees.
But everybody would be competing on the same playing field.
But then the company would not be able to compete against other area companies in the Shenandoah Valley who don't do business in Northern Virginia.
They would have to, if they're bidding on a job in Northern Virginia, they would all, no matter if they came from Mars, they've got to bid the rate in Northern Virginia.
I get that, but then they go home and
they pay the rate at home.
So they pay different wages to their employees depending upon where the job is?
I suspect. Yeah, that's what you have to do under, I think, the Davis-Bacon Act.
Well, you know the history of the Davis-Bacon Act. I mean, that was adopted in order to keep black workers and black companies from getting work in the Northeast over the Northeastern companies. I mean, it was a patently, overtly racist act that was adopted to keep black companies from...
But that's not the case anymore, Senator Obenshain, and you know it. The Pentagon, as an example, was built with labor, general laborers under the Davis-Bacon Act, okay? And my understanding from Jim Moran, who was there, who was in Congress at the time, was a substantial amount of those general laborers were minorities.
Can I ask one more question? Do you know whether any of those 32 states that do have prevailing wage are ranked higher than Virginia in the business rankings?
I couldn't tell you that, whether they are or they aren't. If you notice, there's three apparently rankings from what I saw today, reading what, what's that? Virginia,
trick question. We're
Virginia
number
Free.
one.
He,
Senator Obajang?
we're first in one poll, fourth in another, 13th in another, okay?
You have other questions, Senator Saslow. Senator Marston?
Thank you. Good news for Senator Obenchain is that his folks working in Northern Virginia will be bringing home more spending cash to the Shenandoah Valley.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman, sorry.
Senator Newman?
I'd like to make a motion now that we have adopted the substitute that it not apply to anything under $500,000.
I already have a motion.
Okay.
I think the primary motion is that.
He said 200, his was the primary motion at 250. The substitute motion was 25 million.
Well, we went on to adopt a substitute, and so the motions are no longer there, is my profession. So, Mr. President, I move that we add a provision that adds, it shall not apply to anything less than $500,000.
The motion is? It's been moved and properly second.
I would hope the committee would not adopt it. That would give us probably about the first or second highest. I think Senator Marston came up with a pretty suitable compromise.
Well, we have a motion.
Madam Chair,
we
substitute
have a
motion.
The substitute motion, Senator Marston.
Substitute motion for 250,000.
Move the previous question.
Previous question has been moved and second. The motion is, shall the previous question be ordered? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
I need a recorded vote.
Ayes 4, noes 11.
All right.
Now the motion coming from Senator Marston is, and Senator Marston, your amount is?
What's the motion?
Motion is for a threshold of $250,000.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second that the threshold be no more than
$250.
$250,000. That the motion is, you've heard the motion. Sir Clerk, we're gonna need a recorded vote. Yes, sir.
All right, the vote is on
Those in favor,
250.
please record your votes. Aye, those opposed, no.
Ayes 12, noes 3.
Ayes 12, noes 3.
Madam Chair?
It's passed.
Now the bill is before us.
I have a motion.
Yes, it is, sir. But Senator Norman?
I was really enthralled with the enthusiasm that I heard from our guests who were clapping about if this were to go through, that there would be more money to be spent in Northern Virginia. And I think we really ought to further incentivize Northern Virginia. So I would make a motion that this be restricted to Planning District 8.
It's been moved and properly second that the bill be restricted to Planning District, did you say Planning District 8?
I would hope you all would vote that down for obvious reasons, okay?
Well, there's a motion and a second that this be restricted to Planning District 8. All in favor of that motion, please let it be known by an electronic vote. Sir Clerk?
Ayes 3, noes 12.
Ayes 3, noes 12. That motion is defeated.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the bill be reported as amended.
And I second that.
Madam Chair,
Senator Newman?
just wondering, this did not go to subcommittee. We might want to hear some input from the public on this one because it's not been heard at all, right?
All right.
Madam,
We need to hear, there's been a motion, so we need to hear from the public since this didn't go to subcommittee. Yes, we're gonna put a 5-minute limit on each side.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman, you can hold the 5 minutes?
I always hold it to 5 minutes.
Bless your heart, bless your heart.
All right, those who want to speak in favor, come up first. Each side has 5 minutes.
Room 2.
Okay,
Dave.
go ahead.
Dave.
Chairman Sasslaw and members of the committee, my name is David Allison. I'm the business manager of the Baltimore-Washington Laborers District Council, which is part of the Laborers International Union in North America, or LIUNA for short. Our district council represents more than 7,500 members. I'm here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 8, and I want to thank Senator Sasslaw for introducing this bill. Prevailing wages have been in effect at the federal level since 1931. Currently, 26 states and the District of Columbia also have prevailing wage laws. The main purpose of a prevailing wage law is to promote local market-based standards in the competitive public bidding process. Public construction bidding is very different from private sector construction bidding. Governments typically are required to select the lowest bidder, which puts added pressure on contractors to engage in cutthroat bidding and labor abuses. A prevailing wage law levels the playing field. It allows local contractors and local workers a fair shot at these government projects. According to a 2000...
Could you suspend the time?
Yep.
I just want to suspend the time. Hold a second, sir. If the rest of those behind you, I think I see 6 people, and you have 3 minutes and 52 seconds. Are there
Madam Chairman, you shouldn't let him take up all the time either.
I'm
Madam
good.
Chair, before he leaves, just so I organize, you're with organized labor, is that right?
That's correct. Once in a while, we're disorganized, but we're...
I just want to remind you with the 3 minute, 52 seconds that remain.
Okay,
If you want any of the others behind you to speak,
Yep,
if all
I'm
of
gonna
you are
wait
part
for
of the same group, that you might want to reserve some of your time for them. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Greg Ackerman, representing the Carpenters Union. We thank Senator Sasslaw for putting in this important piece of legislation. We just some points that we want to add is that the prevailing wage laws support apprenticeship programs. We think we can look to an example of our neighbors to the west. In West Virginia, repealed their prevailing wage law. Senators there said that it would save the state money. They could build 5 schools for the price of 4. A study just came back this year showed they only built 5 schools for the price of 5. As a result, out-of-town contractors increased, wages decreased. Thank you very much.
I got a question.
Hold a
Sir-
second,
Sir,
please.
you're with the union, is that right?
Carpenters Union. Yes.
Can you give me a specific example where you...
Madam Chair, can you stop the clock while the question's asking?
No, sir. The time is
Can you give me a specific example where you have been disadvantaged because there's not been a prevailing wage?
Madam Chair, contractors that union and non-union have been shown not to be able to be competitive when they have to compete with out-of-area bad actors that are able to underbid the rest of the local competition.
Can you give me a specific example, not what you globally think?
I can tell you that this very building was not bid on by responsible contractors, and that's why Mark Herring sued the subcontractor that hung all the drywall in this building.
Madam Chairman?
Suspend the time, Mr. Chair.
Madam Chair, I just want to know, would the contractor, the
Timer.
carpenters in my area, the Shenandoah Valley, be bad actors just because the prevailing wage is lower out there and they're traveling to Northern Virginia? Is that what you're saying?
Senator,
They're bad actors?
I can get you a list of subcontractors that are known to use bad actors that
Because they bid less, they're bad actors?
well, they're able to underbid the rest of the competition.
And that makes them bad actors?
No, but they are able to underbid by utilizing practices that are oftentimes
By
illegal.
paying the prevailing wage where they come from?
Well, that's the whole point, is that they're not paying the rate that's local.
Mr. Chair?
I think I probably want to give everybody else some time.
I think if you would come up and just state your name and let us know who you're representing, that would be really nice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jason Parker, Virginia State Building Construction Trades Council. Think of it as your tax base in a region. That's what a prevailing wage is. So I pay taxes here, and I'm a construction worker. But an out-of-area contractor comes in, pays less, and cuts me out of the opportunity my taxes pay for. And that's why prevailing wage is important, to keep that from happening. Otherwise, you lose all incentive in the industry. And there's another component of this. This is a workforce development item. If you want to bring world-class companies to Virginia, stop touting that we're cheap. Why don't we tout we're the best, and why don't we develop the best? Thank you very much.
Don Slayman, IBW Local 26. We call this mini Davis-Bacon after the example of prevailing wage by the federal government. Davis and Bacon were 2 Republican congressmen in 1931 who wanted to make sure that the prevailing rate in the area wasn't depressed by the people coming in and going below what the market is. This is a market-driven principle. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Give me your name and who you represent, sir. Please move forward.
Lou Spencer, Plumbers and Gas Fitters, Local Union Number 5. We support this bill. Illegitimate labor brokers hired by illegitimate businesses that misclassify undocumented alien workers for the purpose of evading payroll taxes and workers' compensation,
Two people behind you.
thereby undermining legitimate
19,
businesses,
18,
communities, and state treasuries. The business model is prevalent in Northern Virginia. I
Thank
support
you.
this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Doris Kraus Mays, Virginia, AFL-CIO, and I will just say ditto.
Thank you.
Jason Asher with the Mid-Atlantic Pipe Trades, and I ask you to support this bill.
Thank you. Those in opposition?
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Ben Brubeck, and I'm with Associated Builders and Contractors. Just want to point out that the highest threshold across the states, there are 27 other states that have prevailing wage. It's $1 million. Hope you consider that as an amendment if the chair so desires. I'll add that the Davis-Bacon Act was passed in 1931. These are not minimum wages. These are modal rates for the most part. Modal rates mean it's the most frequent wage rate that comes up in a survey conducted by the Department of Labor for Davis-Bacon purposes. That means these are not averages, these are not very low wages, these are really high wages. So this will have an impact on construction costs in the state. I'm disappointed in some of the comments claiming that if you don't pay a prevailing wage, you suddenly are a bad actor. There's plenty of excellent contractors that we represent that do not pay the prevailing wage. A number of states have repealed the prevailing wage across the country in the last 5 years. And we think it's a big mistake to put prevailing wage in place here. No state has done so since the 70s, almost 47 years ago. Minnesota was the last one. This is very concerning, especially with other proposals out there in the House that would allow localities to require prevailing wage. We're talking about increasing the costs on affordable housing, school construction, a lot of things that are big issues for a lot of folks and in districts, whether Republican or Democrat. So we hope that you consider making this a little bit more favorable, and I'll turn over my time to everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Gordon Dixon with the Associated General Contractors. We represent both union and non-union firms. Our organization is opposed to this legislation. It does adversely impact entry-level workers because you are talking about less experienced people trying to compete against people who are more experienced, and typically people who are more experienced typically get more money. So we do support it or oppose it from that direction. I'll stop at this point.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Eric Risen with the Virginia Chamber of Commerce, and we oppose this bill because we're concerned about the cost to public projects that it would add on, and would support what the previous two gentlemen said. Thank you.
Senator Sasslaw, the chair is contaminated.
As he pointed out, this will probably require hiring more experienced people. And quite frankly, in my world, that's a plus, not a minus. That's a plus.
Madam.
Move that it be reported.
I'm sorry, Senator Obenshain is in queue.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to comment. I see which way this train is headed. I think it's unfortunate, and there probably are 3 votes against this, maybe a 4th, I don't know, on this committee. I hope that on the floor there wind up being a couple more against this, or a couple more who are going to be willing to increase the threshold. I did want to comment that I found it very illuminating, especially in light of my comment about the history of Davis-Bacon, that one of the gentlemen representing one of the unions stepped up here and probably in a moment of candor pointed out that this is going to prevent undocumented aliens from getting work. And I think it is the dirty underbelly of these pieces of legislation. They are being used to discriminate and to keep people from getting work who folks don't want to get work.
I can tell you this is not going to prevent undocumented people from working at all.
I think we have a motion. Senator Norman.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, everybody ought to go through the chair on it. What is really revealing to me is not one non-union representative came out and spoke in favor of the bill. So what this clearly is the unions trying to lock out non-union contractors and employees. And I do not accept for one nanosecond that every unionized employee is superior in his skill set than non-union employees. And I say to the business community, you all have stood on the sidelines, and what is coming down, you're going to get exactly what you are going to deserve because of your non-resistance.
They're not locking out non-union
Senator
employees.
Sasslaw, I think we have a motion. Did I
Okay.
hear a motion?
Yes,
I thought I did. Okay. There was a motion, and did I get a second?
Second.
There was a motion and a second that Senate Bill 8 be reported with a substitute. And this is going to be an electronic vote. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 9, noes 3.
Ayes 9, noes 3. Senate Bill 8 is recommended with a substitute to be reported. Senator Sasslaw, do you have another bill?
No. Not right now.
Okay, then I'll wait for you to return to the gavel.
Yep. Hey, Adam, what you have, Scott, vote? Clear. Clear. You need to clear here and put it on yours. You need to clear Scott's and put it on yours. I'm asking to, ask him, of course.
All right, let me get to the
Mr. Chairman, I have two.
Let's see, where are we? Where's my, I know. Hold on. Somebody picked up my sheet. No, that was not mine. Somebody picked it up. No, mine had. No, yours had green. Yes, it was marked. One of you all grabbed it. Check under here and see. It had green markings through it and everything.
I'll check it, I'll check it.
He took it with him.
All right, I'll reconsider it. Having, committee, having voted on the prevailing side by which we reported Senate Bill 8, I move to reconsider that vote. All right. Reconsidered.
Ayes
All
10,
right.
no 0.
The bill has to be reported and referred to finance.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
That's all right. All right, all those in favor of reporting and referring to finance, vote aye.
Ayes 9, noes 3.
Thought I had it, brother.
Okay, thank you. All right. We got, let's see, labor related bills. 182. Senator Boysko, which is your bill? 1022?
1022, yes, sir.
Okay, and I have a similar bill.
You do. Yeah.
The difference. Boysko, you want to go ahead and present yours, and then I'll present mine?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. So to begin, I have an amendment in the nature of a substitute. And that change includes a switch to a non-binding arbitration for parties involved in an impasse or grievance dispute with a public school board. It involves a clarification of the procedure for certifying an exclusive bargaining representative and a date change to ensure that all impasses are resolved prior to the date that financial information is needed to finalize the governor's budget as well as other budgets.
Move to substitute.
All right, the substitute is before us. Moved and adopted. All those in favor of adopting the substitute to 1022, say aye. You want to explain the basic differences between your bill and mine?
I believe your bill empowers a locality to enter into collective bargaining.
It's permissive.
Yours is permissive, mine
Is mandatory.
is mandatory, and it sets out a framework for how a per board of public employees board would be set up, and goes into more detail to give more guidance and understanding about exactly what this is. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to read my statement.
Okay.
Okay?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, the time has come to ensure that workers in Virginia, including public employees, have the freedom to collectively bargain. Right now in Virginia, all private sector workers have the freedom to decide for themselves whether to join together collectively bargain, but public workers are denied that right. We need to respect and trust our public workers to make decisions for themselves whether they want to join or not. We, as the political leaders of the state, should not be making this decision for them. And if workers decide to join together to bargain with public employers, we should trust that they will behave responsibly and exercise the same commitment to quality public service that they now exercise. Virginia is just one of only 3 states in the entire country that denies all of its public employees the freedom to decide for themselves whether they want to join together and engage in collective bargaining with their employer. And my bill, SB 1022, provides that freedom. The bill does not include any tax increases and does not affect the existing prohibition on public employee strikes, nor does it make any modifications to Virginia's right to work law. I've heard from local government officials who support the bill as well as others who have had reservations, and I understand these concerns. And I think the bill addresses them, and that's why, the more comprehensive bill, I think, helps to explain that. Experience with public worker bargaining demonstrates that a labor management relationship supports quality public services and does nothing to impair the efficiency of a government operation. In the case of a small minority of workers who are poor performers or who should be removed from their jobs for misconduct, I want to assure you that collective bargaining agreements typically allow for such actions as just cause. If an employer has a legitimate basis for terminating employment of a worker, collective bargaining agreements require the due process, but they do not otherwise limit the manager's ability to make that decision. I also know that some have proposed limits.
I have a couple of questions rather than the narrative. I have 2 questions. First of all, why do you want to do this?
Because localities are needing to have a seat at the table. Currently now, some counties or localities bring everybody to the table. They bring employees to the table to discuss the quality of life, whether or not they, what their hours are going to be, whether or not they can, teachers, for instance, I know are asking for this. This just enables that they're going to get that seat at the table. And I spend a lot of my time, and I mean, if you've ever talked to me for 15 minutes, you know that I really focus on people who have been systematically disenfranchised, who have not felt that they've had a seat at the table. And I work really hard to try to give them voice, their voice to those who are in power. And that's what we're trying to do here.
Does what you contemplate permit a work stoppage?
No, sir. So this bill absolutely prohibits that. So we have a prohibition on things like work stoppages. This is not going to change that at all. This is allowing,
I got it, Mr. Chairman. My last question is, do you still have the constitutional officers included in your bill?
they are, currently, the way this is written, they are included in this.
Mr. Chairman, you really think that Commonwealth attorneys ought to have the ability to organize in the form of a union? Do you really believe that?
Mr. Chairman, I would say that it is up to the body to make decisions about how we proceed through this. I'm presenting a bill, and I'd like to.
Mr. Chairman, it's your bill, you own it, and you wrote it, and do you really think that Commonwealth attorneys ought to be able to organize as a labor representative?
I believe their employees might like to have that opportunity to have a voice at the table.
Mr. Chairman, that was not my question. Do you believe that Commonwealth attorneys, not their employees, should have the right to organize as a effective labor organization?
Elected officials are not included in this bill.
I think, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, my first question was, were constitutional officers included in it? And
Okay,
every
excuse me.
constitutional officer is elected, whether it's Commissioner of Revenue, Treasurer,
Mr.
clerks of the court, Commonwealth attorneys.
Mr. Chairman, I misheard his question, and I will repeat. Elected officers are not included in this bill.
First Senator Lucas, then Senator Rubenstein, then Senator Evans.
Yes, Senator Boysko, my question is, does this bill mandate that all public sector employers engage in collective bargaining?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the question. This bill this would only go into effect if the majority of employees in an area agreed to allow the employee organization to be recognized at the bargaining. If there's not a majority, they would not form a union. This does not force anyone to be in a union. The majority of the employees need to agree that they would like. I actually have an expert who is able to answer questions, but I'm also happy to answer your questions, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Saslaw, if I understand you correctly, a majority of employers don't have to participate in collective bargaining if they don't choose to do so.
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. Until the State Employees Public Relations Board certifies that an employee organization is in place, there is no requirement. So again, 30% of the group would have to put together a petition, and then there would be a vote. It would have to be 50% plus one. So I do not anticipate areas where labor unions are not popular to be running to the table to do this. No one would be forced.
Sounds to me like that's a prerogative.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it would allow organization. It would not insist upon organization. It would allow people to have a seat at the table if they so chose. If they're happy with the way their localities are governing their municipalities and they feel that they're in a good posture, then there would be no need for them to do so. This gives them the ability if they choose.
Senator Rubenstein, then Senator Evans.
I think I heard you say that local governments want this. How many, can you tell me what cities want this?
Mr. Chairman, after having conversations with members of the Board of Supervisors in Fairfax County, I understand that they're very interested in this.
Well, Mr. Chairman, have any cities asked for this?
Mr. Chairman, I haven't spoken with any cities, I haven't heard
Chairman,
from any cities.
Has the Municipal League asked for this?
Mr. Chairman, I have not.
Mr. Chairman, how about, so Fairfax County is very interested. Any other counties ask for this?
Mr. Chairman, I've heard from Fairfax County.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, how many school boards have asked for this?
Mr. Chairman, I would just remind you that the school boards are excused from the binding arbitration. The teachers have expressed strong interest in this. The FEA, for instance, have asked for this.
But, Mr. Chairman, my question, though, was related to the school boards. How many school boards have asked for this?
Mr. Chairman, I haven't had any school boards reach out to me with that.
Mr. Chairman, how about superintendents? How many superintendents of school boards have asked for this?
I think you know the answer.
Well, she said that local governments want this. I just am trying to figure out which ones.
All right, Senator Evan. Yeah, I have a comment, a motion, and a question. Senator Norman raised I thought, a valid point when he talked about constitutional officers. And I would like to see if it would be a friendly amendment to say to exempt online. I think you've got about 7 exemptions.
Senator,
And
Mr.
to add
Chairman.
one.
I would share with Senator Evan that the clerk has a written amendment.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's what I want to say.
And he just found the place for it to go, because I didn't know where it was.
Okay, there's a list of people who are exempt, and I would just suggest that it perhaps just be added as the last one on line, what would be line 108.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Evan, it certainly could go on 108. I have it here as on line 93. So the following public employees shall be excluded from the provisions of this article. 1, elected officials, persons appointed to fill vacancies in elected offices, employees of officers elected pursuant to Article 7, Section 4 of the Constitution of Virginia, and members of any board or commission.
I would make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Noes have the same right.
You paid that right.
Senator Boysko.
And may I make one other comment if I may?
I think the chair is coming back to the seat.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, back in the seat.
I was just wondering, I had a bill in, I think it was 2005, that allowed for meet and confer with, and maybe this is for the, for council, with the exemption of constitutional officer employees and the others who exempt. They're allowed to meet and confer, are they not? Or does that need to be a separate part of the bill if we were to allow that? Are they already allowed to meet and confer to discuss?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Evan, they'd be allowed to do anything they currently are allowed to do.
Okay, and just to follow up, do we know if they're currently allowed to meet and confer to talk about working conditions or that sort of thing?
There's provision in code allowing them to have an association to act on their behalf.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I describe exactly what the bill has in it so that there's no misunderstanding? Because I know that there's been a lot of misunderstanding. 1, the bill provides for public workers across the state the freedom to join together for purposes of collective bargaining, but the bill does not impose bargaining on anyone. Will anyone ever be required to join or pay dues to a union? The bill provides an opportunity for workers to decide for themselves if they want to join, and that opportunity is triggered only if the majority of employees say that they wish to form a union. Secondly, it creates an oversight body known as the Public Employees Relation Board, or the PERB, to oversee the process of certifying whether a majority of workers are in favor of joining together. This board is also responsible for reviewing allegations of violations of the law later on. It will consist of a handful of staff and a very modest budget of $500,000 a year. The PERB board is not involved in the bargaining process whatsoever between the employees and the employer. Bargaining is conducted by the designees of the public employer and the workers themselves. So just wanted to clarify that. Thirdly, the bill spells out that the collective bargaining process for the employees and their employer, certain management rights, worker compensation law, the statewide pension plans would be off limits for negotiation. The workers themselves, possibly with the assistance of professional staff representatives, would be at the bargaining table with the management representatives. And of course, any resulting agreement will require the approval of the governing board, the body. So the executive holds the purse strings, and if the collective bargaining, they ask for a salary raise and it's not in the budget, it would not happen because there would not be the money. The executive holds on to the purse strings. The state legislator, our county boards, our city councilors, our school boards would retain that ultimate responsibility for appropriating the funds necessary to implement the agreement. And if these bodies disapprove, it returns to the parties for negotiation.
Okay, we have some questions.
Yes, sir.
If I may direct your attention to page 7 of the substitute under powers of public employers. Help me understand what this section is doing, unless limited by provisions of collective bargaining agreement or other statutory provisions a public employer may, then it goes through and lists those.
I'm going to, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to phone a friend here who is here to answer technical questions because I'm not an expert in this.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Steve Kreisberg. I'm with AFSCME and a resident of Burke, Virginia. The reserved management rights are designed to assure the employer that certain aspects of management functions are preserved. Now, there could be negotiations concerning those rights, but the bill itself is designed to preserve to the management these particular functions.
Mr. Chairman, help me with the starts out on the first line, unless limited by the provisions of a collective bargaining agreement. How does the collective bargaining agreement come into being with the public employer? How does that mechanically happen?
Okay, as Senator Boysko explains, if a majority of employees in what's called a bargaining unit, which is a grouping of employees working for the same employer, desire to form a collective bargaining unit and be exclusively an exclusive representative, that creates the bargaining obligation. So the employees have to join together, and we need a majority of those employees to decide to make that decision. So if we have a workplace of 100, you would need 51 employees to trigger that right.
So just so I understand, the collective bargaining agreement could come into existence even though the public employer is not a party or acquiesces to it?
The collective bargaining agreement is negotiated between the employer and the employees.
That's not what you just described to me.
Well, I didn't finish the explanation before you interrupted me, but I would say that the bargaining agreement, it takes two to bargain. So you'd have the employees on one side of the table, if you will.
I get it, but that is not what you said, and that's why I asked you the questions.
No, as I said, if I can finish the explanation, I will explain it in full. If you'd like me to continue, I will.
We need to move this on pretty quickly. Okay?
Mr. Chairman, happy to do whatever you'd like.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator.
can we find out what is in the chairman's bill? Because we may go way down this road and not pass this bill, this version of the bill. So maybe we should hear the other version.
Sure.
Senator Saslaw.
Okay. As you can see, her bill is many pages. This is mine. Okay. Also, mine is permissive. They are not required to unless they adopt an ordinance, a local ordinance. It's barred of this. Also,
Wait 1 second, he's
sure.
just handing it out so we can look at it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Senator Saslaw, we have an amendment in the nature of a substitute before us.
Yes.
I need a motion to adopt the amendment in the nature of substitute. It's been moved and properly second that the amendment in the nature of a substitute be approved. All in favor, please say aye. No, say right. Senator Saslaw.
Okay, mine is strictly permissive. It's what I said I was going to do starting a year ago. And also, if you look at lines B, line 22, 40.1-57.2 is essentially a no strike clause. So what it does is, those local governments, and probably in Northern Virginia, they will. They may not in Senator Obenshane's district. I suspect they will in Williamsburg and maybe James City County, Senator Norman. But they have the option of doing this. And, when I got elected to the House of Delegates in 76, that's 1976, not 18, when I got elected, it was permitted. And then what happened, I think in that very first year, the Virginia Supreme Court said that without legislation from the General Assembly, they could not do this. And essentially, that's where it's been until 2020. And so You can see the difference between my bill and hers. Mine's pretty simple. It's permissive and contains a no-strike clause. And, which is really important for public safety officials, not as important with, other. But, I explained that, both to the interested bodies with respect to public safety. So that's basically the difference, and it's a substantial difference. And,
Senator Norman, you have other editorial comments?
No, ma'am.
Senator Newman?
Madam Chair, Mr. Chairman, did you anticipate that on line 31 or thereafter that you would indicate that those people that are either in the constitutional officer or their employees would also not be included?
They're not included unless they want to be included.
Madam Chair.
Senator Newman?
So you do intend the
In other words,
constitutional
local,
officers- You do intend the constitutional offices and their employee to be included? That's my question.
Well, yeah, but they don't have to unless the ordinance provides for that. Then they're not included. In other words, when they pass the local ordinance, I would assume the Commonwealth attorneys, the constitutional officers will have input into this, and I can't see many local governments, going against their own constitutional officers.
Senator Norman?
Madam Chairman, I would offer the same amendment that I had submitted to council on Senator Borsco's bill, which was offered by Senator Evan, which excludes explicitly constitutional officers.
And their employees or not? Yeah. And employees. Second motion.
You've heard the motion and the second. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Senator Evan, you just jumped up in queue.
Yeah, just because I made the last motion doesn't mean I'm going to be consistent here. Because what we're saying, what Senator Sassau's bill says, it is permissive. If they want to have the clerk's staff be included, they could. I can't imagine anyone would include the Commonwealth's attorneys. But I'd rather leave it open-ended in case there are lower-level employees who the county or city would like to include. So in that circumstance, I don't see any harm.
Leave it up to the committee.
Okay, we're back to the motion. We've had a motion and a second. And Senator Norman, would you repeat that motion so that everybody would understand?
The motion would exclude constitutionally elected officers, just as we put as an amendment on the Borsco bill.
And their employees.
And their employees.
Motion has been second. All in favor of the motion, please let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Noes have the same right.
No.
Record your no. Senator Saslaw, back to you. We've heard the essence of two bills now.
I had a question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Senator Sproul,
could I
I
have
didn't
some
see
more
you in,
could I
I
have
didn't
some-
see you in queue. I didn't see you in queue.
I raised my hand to you. I apologize, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. I'm going strictly by what the Senate clerk taught me.
I apologize.
Senator Sproul.
Thank you so much. Bless your heart.
Bless your heart, too.
I'd like to have, Madam Chairman, could Doris B. Crouch from the union come up and ask a question, please? The two bills that you have, and one that is permissive, and Senator Bosco bill, and I'm torn between the two. Is there a preference that that the union, your group preferred the permissive one based on Senator Bosco?
So, Madam Chairman and members of the committee, in terms of labor, we prefer Boisco's bill simply because two reasons. Well, first of all, let me just say that we feel that public employees deserve the same right as private employees do in order to have a union in their workplace. Again, to understand, one of the things about being permissive, some areas will do it. So the question is, for some localities that allow it, what about the other localities that don't? And then, yes.
Well, you finish answering my question. Know about the Godfather, you know.
And then.
Senator Sproul.
So, and let me just say, and really reiterate, in the workers organizing, the workers have to, you have to have 30% of the workers that are interested. Then there's an election. And then you have to win by 50% plus one. And then you start the bargaining. So there is that opportunity. The other reason is there has to be some type of, and the Attorney General's office had recommended that we have some type of public employees relations board, just on with private workers, they have the NLRB. This sets up the public employees
But your
relations
favorite
board.
Senator Bosco.
Senator Sproul.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I thought you loved me. I thought you loved me.
Now, I'm just going, look, I'm just following what the Senate clerk taught me. If you're not in queue, I'm not recognizing you. So
Thank
Senator
you.
Sproul.
Yes, sir, thank you. Mr. I think I need my bees. Where my bees at? My question, so you favor Senator Bosco's bill?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Senator Norman and then Senator Newman.
Ma'am, don't leave yet.
Senator Sproul, will you please turn off your light?
I'm gonna, Madam Chairman, I think I can put everybody out of their misery. I'm gonna move that you report Senate Bill 939 as amended, the substitute, and roll Senator Boysko's bill into mine. Mine would be the bill, and she'd be listed as a chief co-patron.
Second.
Well, yes, we're going to incorporate the two bills, but you need to add to that the bill needs to go to finance because
The
it's
bill
going
would
to
then
be.
have to be reported and referred to finance, even though there's no state impact.
You've heard the motion, and that is to roll Senator Boysko's bill into Senator Saslaw's bill. That will be the primary bill, and then it will be.
She would be chief co-patron.
She will be chief co-patron. So we incorporate the two bills, and then if the bill passes, then it will be referred to finance. That's the
Wait,
motion.
I'm not sure that was, look on the green list for 939.
Did you take it with
Was
you
that-
again?
It was Senate, okay, it has to go to Senate Finance. No, I did not. It has to, the motion would be to report and refer to finance. There's no state impact.
Okay, here is a sheet with your green notes on it. Okay. Okay, the first motion is that the two bills will be incorporated, so, and we've had a motion and a second, so all in favor, please vote aye or nay. Now, I need a motion on the primary bill now with the two incorporated.
Madam Chairman,
Senator Obenchain and then Senator Norman.
my light is actually on, so.
Oh, sorry, your light was.
That's okay.
That's correct, your light was on, Senator
I-
Obenchain.
Just a couple of quick questions. One, if a public employee works in a branch of government that does have a union, would your bill require public employees to join that union even if they
No,
didn't
my
want
bill
to?
doesn't require any of that.
Would your bill require them to pay dues even if they chose not to join the union?
It's not in the bill.
It's in a different bill?
No, it's
Okay.
not. It's not in this bill or any other one that I know of.
Okay.
Okay, and keep in mind, like I said, local governments have to vote to do this. Okay?
Senator Saslaw?
Yeah.
There's a motion and there's a second. And when the bills are incorporated, it will be referred to Senate Finance.
You're right.
Okay, now we've already had a motion and a second, so
Okay,
all
time
in
to vote.
favor of that motion, please vote electronically. Mr. Clerk?
Ayes 11, noes 3.
Thank you so much. And Senator Saslaw, here's your sheet with your green letters on it.
All right.
Is he coming?
We'll spend it before we get there.
For the life of me, I can't figure it out. What the heck is this thing?
There's your green sheet with your bills.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see, we've done prevailing, we did prevailing wage.
Chairman, you have Senator Cosgrove sitting there for a long
All
time.
right,
And
Senator Cosgrove,
Bob-
you and Senator Newman have peer-to-peer.
Yes, sir.
What to what?
Come on down. All right. Hello, Madam Chairman.
Senator Cosgrove, you have Senate Bill 749.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chairman, the Senate Bill 749 is basically the peer-to-peer car rental type bill. Thank you for the opportunity to present this bill. First, I'd like to have a substitute given to the committee.
Thank you. We'll wait until the substitute has been distributed.
Good job, Lou. Good job. Good job. I'm just joking.
Training has left the station, but they've been here probably 2 meetings in a row.
Oh, my.
It's up here.
And I didn't change it. No, it just told me that they've been here for many hours, a couple of days waiting for national emergency is here and will testify at that Saturday. It's national.
Senator Cosgrove?
Yes, ma'am.
There's some question about the difference between the original and the amendment in the nature of the substitute?
Yes, ma'am. Basically, the substitute amends the insurance, regulatory, and airport provisions of my bill based on extensive conversations with all the different groups. It also corrects some drafting errors to the original bill and clarify that my bill imposes no new taxes. It only provides an effective way for the Department of Taxation to collect and remit the 10% motor vehicle rental tax that is currently owed by the peer-to-peer rental car industry. That's what the substitute really does. Madam Chair and members of the committee, my bill provides parity in the car rental industry. It modernizes Virginia insurance, registration, and tax laws to ensure that the peer-to-peer vehicle rental industry operates in Virginia in a manner that safeguards Virginia citizens. Currently, peer-to-peer rental companies operate in Virginia in an unregulated and untaxed environment. Peer-to-peer shared vehicles are vehicles that are owned by individuals that are offered for a daily rental via vehicle sharing platforms operated through websites and online applications. My bill defines the mechanism for the Department of Taxation to collect and distribute the 10% motor vehicle tax that is owed today by the peer-to-peer rental industry. In doing this, my bill preserves important funds to flow into transportation, localities, and to the general fund. There is no fiscal impact on my bill. In fact, my bill preserves the revenue from these taxes with a positive impact to state and local revenues. The motor vehicle rental tax returns 40% of the revenue collected for transportation needs, 40% to localities for important needs, and 20% to the general fund used for the state police radio system. Senator Newman's bill is very similar. It seeks a lower tax rate for peer-to-peer rentals. Their desire for the low tax rate and a competitive advantage comes with a fiscal impact to the Commonwealth of over $500,000, as you can see from the fiscal impact statement. To be clear, this is not basically a candle versus a light bulb. They're two light bulbs, and one is a peer-to-peer car industry seeks to codify competitive advantage over existing rental car companies such as Hertz and Enterprise. Simply put, the law has not kept up with technology in the peer-to-peer car industry. This bill makes sure that there is parity by enforcing the Commonwealth motor vehicle rental tax to those companies who rent cars in Virginia. Now, we agree on various aspects to include insurance, airports, and regulatory schemes. The difference boils down to the peer-to-peer car rental industry owing a 10% tax under current law they've not been paying while seeking to codify a much lower tax rate. You may have heard this is an enterprise bill, and it's not. The bill is supported by the American Car Rental Association, Virginia Automobile Dealers Association, the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission, Virginia's for High-Speed Rail, the Virginia Transit Association, the Virginia Transportation Construction Alliance, Virginia Association of Counties, Virginia Municipal League, Counties of Fairfax and Arlington, Hertz, which is one of Enterprise's biggest competitors. My bill solves a problem by creating a mechanism to collect the taxes that are owed now to the Commonwealth. There are multiple individuals here to speak to the bill if you so desire, Mr. Chairman. And Senator Newman may want to present this.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, there are two bills. My bill is Senate Bill 735. Mr. Chairman, just a quick rationale for why we're here. Clearly, this activity is going on in Virginia today. It's just not being regulated. There was a work group that was put together over the summer. That group came together and had many conversations. Many of the provisions that are in my bill came out of that work group. There was a good deal of agreement on that, including many of the platforms that currently do this, the American Property and Casualty Insurance Association, the Farm Bureau, independent insurance agents, and also a number of the manufacturers. Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, I think it's pretty clear that in today's world, one, if we do not fix this, we're going to have a serious insurance problem. If you decide that you're going to rent your car without us taking action, much like what's in my bill, then you are going to have an insurance problem when your insurance denies the claim because basically you are renting your vehicle. Under the bill that we put forward, we solve that problem. We do basically exactly what we did with other platforms, and we put the insurance responsibility back on the platforms where it ultimately should be. Mr. Chairman, there's going to be some discussion as we go through about the tax issue. I want to be very clear about the tax issue. Currently, if you determine that you want to put your vehicle on a platform, you pay the motor vehicle sales tax, you pay the local personal property tax, and what we're saying is that you do the difference, you pay the difference in a rental tax. That would be what we have before you, and my bill is now under the substitute of 6%. That makes it parity, that makes it fair. That means that if you're a car rental company in Virginia, and we like what they're doing, you do not pay the motor vehicle sales tax. You do not pay the property tax. But if you're an owner of these vehicles, you're paying those taxes today. So what we did is we put into our bill the delta cost. So the delta between the two is where we end up with 6%. Mr. Chairman, I know there's going to be some debate. I think there are many things that we agree on, that the subcommittee came up with, that we agree on. There are differences in the insurance provision, and I think you need to hear from Chris Legault about some of those items. So, Mr. Chairman, if you're inclined to hear both of them, you could probably put a clock on both sides and hear both sides.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we just received an amendment in the nature of substitute.
Yep, that has my 6% and fixes the airport issue as well.
Okay. So we need to adopt the substitute.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
And second. To adopt Senator Newman's substitute to Senate Bill 735. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The substitute's before us. Did you have a substitute?
I did, Mr. Chairman.
Has it been adopted?
It was, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Bell.
question on looking at the two bills. One of the things that comes to my mind is Toro, some of the other peer-to-peer type rentals. What are other states doing as far as their fair, to address the same issue? I think that'd be interesting to bring to the discussion.
I think John should discuss there, but the one we did is based on the kind of one of the national models, and you'll hear the other side talk about their other models. But one way to go forward would be, since there's not really for and against, I think we all agree we've got to do something. It may be helpful if the chair was to determine to have those in favor of one and the other, and then you'll hear those type discussions.
Mr. Chairman? But the bottom line difference is really your bill recognizes that there's a tax paid when a consumer buys a car. The other bill doesn't recognize the same tax.
That's true. There's some other insurance provisions that we like a little more, but we can work our way through those items. So yes, those are the two biggest provisions. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is that right, John? I think that's.
Yeah, I think that's accurate, Mr. Chairman. If you care to hear from people, there are people here to speak to the issue.
Just want to have people that pay my bill and then his, or vice versa.
Those who are interested in these two bills, please come forward. State which one you're in favor of and why. Let's go to 5 minutes.
As long as it's both sides, 5 minutes, but maybe 10 minutes total. Yeah.
5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
If you're for Newman's bill, let's hear you first.
Okay.
If you're then for Senator Cosgrove's bill, we'll hear you after that.
Okay.
Okay, so the first 5 minutes are going to be on Senator Newman's bill.
Mr. Chairman.
Supporting Senator Newman's bill.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Chris Legault for the American Property Casualty Insurers Association, speaking in favor of Senator Newman's bill. The insurance aspects of this bill are very important to both auto insurers and their customers in Virginia and elsewhere around the country, Senator Bell. Last year, the property casualty industry collaborated with the platforms who put together the owners and the drivers of these shared vehicles and came up with a model bill. It was very carefully constructed going forward, and what we needed to do to prevent owners from having the losses incurred by a driver who's completely foreign to them. They don't know who it is, and the losses that pile up on that owner could result in surcharges against the owner. That's not fair. And the losses that occur, just generally speaking, universally, pile up in the paid loss column that everybody gets to subsidize and pay for in a car sharing situation that we don't want to see happen. We don't underwrite for perfect strangers.
Stop it. Stop the clock.
Did you have a question? Excuse me, Senator.
I'm trying to remind you that
The
there's
other people
3.5
want to speak.
minutes left and there are people behind you.
Yeah, I'm going to go fast. So the National Model Bill came about, and during last year's DMV stakeholder process dealing with this exact same issue, a drafting committee made up of insurers and the platforms met with the Bureau of Insurance to make sure that we put this together correctly pursuant to current regulations in the insurance code. That's an important point to recognize. What's going to happen, this works seamlessly.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman, if you're going to give 5 minutes, and my person can take the whole 5 minutes up. Now, you going to take more time. How can we do something in 5 minutes? You can take it all by yourself.
I just want to explain one thing.
But when, oh Lord, when?
It's a seamless situation so that we're not eliminating liability coverage or risk of loss at all. The platform will get the responsibility for handling claims that arise during the discrete period of the car sharing. So, okay.
All right, you finished?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Next, in support of Senator Newman's bill.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Trey Adams on behalf of Turo. We're the platform. We're where you go on your iPhone to rent a car from a neighbor. There are some 40 cars available in Richmond today on the Turo platform, and this is about tax parity. Those cars are cars for which the sales price was taxed at the sales and use tax rate. The average price of that tax in Virginia is $1,000. We pay it. A formal rent-a-car company doesn't. So the discounted tax rate that we ask you to accept brings parity to the table.
On a $30 a day Turo rental, that means about $1.20 less in tax going to the government. I got to rent that car about 800 times to make up the difference for the tax I paid on the front end. But that's a parity decision. It was a figure that was suggested by the DMV work group that worked all summer on this. We hope you'll adopt the bill with a 6% tax rate.
Thank you. Trey, in looking at this bill, did you consider the overhead that a rental car company has to go through? They have to, have facilities, garages, property. They're paying the taxes on that, whereas the owner of the car merely has to, put it in his garage. Nothing changes for him, whereas a rental car company has all kinds of expenses that I don't know that has been calculated into this bill unless you tell me otherwise.
The purpose of the bill was not to justify their business model. It was to bring about some parity in terms of tax treatment. So no, I didn't calculate the overhead by which they do business.
Mr. Chairman, one further question. Couple of things that I envisioned here was this part of the discussion, the probability, I guess, of small claims issues that aren't covered by insurance companies, that, somebody smoked in my car, somebody spilled something in my car, that maybe insurance isn't going to cover, but that's going to end up in people kind of at each other's throats over these things. Has that been considered as to, this stuff may end up in the courts and what have you, that insurance won't cover everything?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, we had a lot of discussions at DMV over the summer. Nobody was particularly concerned about those issues, so they really didn't come up to the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Bell.
If I could ask one other question. Do you have any idea what percentage of Turo's business where rentals are done out of airports? I guess that would be if a vehicle was picked up, dropped off at the airport. I don't know that I have the data. We don't geo-track that, so I can't tell you how many people make their pickup at an airport versus a commercial parking lot or a front yard.
Thank you, but that is a key difference between the bills.
Well, no, I think we've reached agreement on the airport amendment. We've got to have an agreement with an airport to operate on their property. We recognize the authority of airports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Nicole, you're up. You're supporting Senator Newman.
Yes, sir. Speaking in support of Senator Newman's bill on behalf of General Motors and Maven, we also participated in the stakeholder process on insurance specifically. I think there are a couple issues with the coverage period in Senator Cosgrove's bill where we worked out with BOI the licensing and coverage issues that I think are clearer in Senator Newman's bill. And on the tax piece, I'll echo the comments that Senator Newman made on parity. Have a handout that I'd like to distribute when I'm done to represent that. And also wanted to note that in Senator Newman's bill, we used the marketplace facilitator threshold that the General Assembly adopted last year. That's what allows the tax to be collectible, and that's not used in Senator Cosgrove's bill.
Just very quickly, Mr. Chairman, Ross Scrogg on behalf of the Alliance of Automobile Innovation. We are supportive of the Newman bill. Thank you.
Okay. Those who are in favor of Senator Cosgrove's bill.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, I was waiting for them to finish handing these out. Michelle Gowdy from the Virginia Municipal League. We support Senator Cosgrove's bill today. We also participated in the stakeholder study, and what I will tell you that the difference is in the payment of the taxes is the tax in Senator Newman's bill is paid by the rentor, the person who rents the car for the day. And so when they talk about paying the sales tax on the car, it's actually not relevant because the person's renting the car for the day and paying that tax. Senator Cosgrove's bill is very similar to as we said, in parity with the rental car companies, so that when you are conducting a rental car business with your car, you're paying the same tax as what Enterprise would do. Because quite frankly, otherwise Enterprise, what's to stop them from moving all of their cars to this other platform and paying the cheaper tax? So for those reasons, we support Senator Cosgrove's bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tommy Gerber with Enterprise Holdings. We conduct
all sorts of mobility service activity all across the state of Virginia in 220 locations with a team of 2,000 employees. And what I will tell you is that I'm very happy to say that everything Mr. Legal said, we agree to. There has to be a good insurance framework, and Mr. Cosgrove's bill, Senator Cosgrove's bill does that. And it was also modeled on the APCIA model language that came out of the National Council of Insurance Legislators. So any outstanding issues on insurance have been resolved. I think there's one little tiny one that still needs to be resolved. This is all about taxes. Peer-to-peer companies are large companies that have been around for a decade. They are valued at hundreds of millions of dollars. They are owned and supported and invested in by vehicle manufacturing companies, insurance companies, and capital ventures. So really what this is about a competitive pricing advantage. If you list a car at a price with a $5 or a $10 difference lower, consumers are going to go there. So rental car companies pay all sorts of taxes. We pay different taxes than private vehicle owners pay. They don't pay merchant asset taxes. They don't pay BPOL. We pay those taxes. What parity is the consumer who's purchasing a service from the peer-to-peer company pays the same sales tax rate for the rental of a car that a consumer of any other rental car service pays. That's tax parity. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Tommy Lucas with the Virginia Automobile Dealers Association. Our dealers are large customers of traditional rental companies to provide substitute transportation for customers whose vehicles are in the dealership's service department. We also have dealers who operate rental fleets of their own to provide for their customers' needs. The dealers pay 10% on those rentals, 10% tax. We've heard some say a discounted rate is justifiable because those who share their vehicles have already paid Virginia's sales and use tax. That's not always the case. Nothing would stop a large fleet operator from titling a fleet of vehicles in another state, never paying the Virginia sales and use tax, bringing cars into Virginia, and operating just as a traditional rental company, but with a tax break. Yep, thank you. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Jeremy Bennett with the Virginia Association of Counties. We're in favor of this bill. Requires peer-to-peer vehicle sharing platforms to comply with Virginia tax laws and to register, collect, and remit the same taxes that any other company renting vehicles in the Commonwealth does. So that's why we support it.
Mr. Chairman, Danny Plugger with Virginians for High-Speed Rail. The motor vehicle sales tax or rental tax generates about $45 million a year for our transit and rail systems here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Every 1% that moves over under the new tax structure or the different tax structure would eliminate about $300,000 in annual funding for our rail and transit systems under the 6% versus the 10%. So it would have a noticeable difference in our funding levels. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Claudia Arco with Fairfax County, and we support Senator Cosgrove's bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. David Halleck on behalf of Hertz.
Mr. Chairman. Fairfax County, do you all support the collective bargaining for public employees bill? I mean, you weren't, you didn't step up before. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. David Halleck on behalf of Hertz. And as has previously been stated, the way that Senator Newman's bill is constructed, you could have a company that would buy a fleet of cars from another state, North Carolina, for example, that has a lower tax rate on purchase of cars, sales tax rate on purchase of cars, bring that fleet to Virginia, and then be able to provide that fleet at 6% rather than what we pay at 10%. So it really does create an unlevel playing field for your existing car rental agencies in Virginia. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I see my time is running short. I'm Lisa Guthrie with the Virginia Transit Association, and we support Senator Cosgrove's bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Sarah Taylor with the City of Alexandria. We support this bill for the reasons related to local government revenue and transit revenue, and I appreciate your support for the bill.
Mr. Chairman, may I make just one short comment? Thanks. Basically, the DMV working group did get together, and the peer-to-peer stakeholders proposed a 6% tax rate for discussion amongst the stakeholders at DMV that was put forward. That tax rate was considered until the peer-to-peer stakeholders refused to accept definition of peer-to-peer that was limited to private individuals. Now, you can have General Motors, or you can actually have Enterprise or Hertz decide they're going to be a peer-to-peer using this. You're going to lose 4% of your sales tax.
Mr. Chairman, I'm glad we're going to solve this problem because I think we've got to fix the insurance provisions and otherwise. I would just tell you that if any of our insurance companies decided to give up their current exemption, pay the personal property tax, go in and pay the motor vehicle sales tax, then maybe they could do that. They're going to pay more money to go in, like you and I, the consumers do, to pay the 6%. So I would hope that we would pass my version, but I'm glad we're hopefully going to solve the problem.
All right, committee, what's your preference?
John.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to report SB 735. And I think this is, speaking of that motion, while I have great respect for the other bill and the gentleman's arguments, I think we have to have a decision whether or not we want to participate in the gig economy. And while there might be more tax revenue, I do think that this is something for many small entrepreneurs, and it actually, frankly, allows people to pay for their vehicles and allows them to have a small business on the side. So with that, I renew my motion for reporting SB 735.
Mr. Chairman, I second.
All right, the motion, proper motion, by the way, is report and refer. Mr. Chairman. Senator Newman, just
Speaking briefly of that motion, and John can too, but I agree, I thank you for that. But John, I think it's going to go to finance, and that's where generally we talk about the taxes. So if we go upstairs, I think we do still have an opportunity to talk about some of the tax issues.
Mr. Chairman, if this vote is taken, can you roll mine into Senator Newman's bill, please?
Yeah, my recommendation from the chair would be that we report both and refer both to finance because it would be easier to straighten out the whole tax situation up there.
It would, yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, but suppose some of us don't favor Senator Cosgrove's bill. So you can roll them together, you can do it separately.
No, we're going to send two bills up there.
Okay, okay.
All right,
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if it's appropriate one motion, but I would move to report both bills.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
We could do that.
In that case, then how do I vote if I want to vote on one?
All right, he only wants to vote on one, so.
Just take them one at a time, because you don't want.
One at a time. All right, there's been a motion and a second to report Senate Bill 735. All those in favor, vote aye. It's report and refer to finance. Okay. All right,
Ayes 12, noes 2, 1 abstention.
all right, that's 735. What's your bill number?
749, sir.
All right,
I move to report 749.
and there's a motion and a second.
And refer.
To report and refer to finance Senate Bill 749. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed vote no. Okay. All right.
Ayes 9, noes 3, abstentions 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to say it's been fun, but, well, you know.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Okay. Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have Senate Bill 481 before you, and there is an amendment in the nature of a substitute.
This is the paid sick leave bill.
It is paid sick leave. Yes, it is.
Maybe not. What is this? Oh, another article.
I took care of it. John Bell's going to do it.
Sick days.
Paid sick days.
Mr. Chairman, I move the amendment in the nature of a substitute.
All right, 481
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't know.
Adopt, is there a second?
I'm fine.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that 481 amendment nature of substitute be adopted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, okay.
I will briefly explain my bill, and I do want to be.
Senator Parker has one.
Yes, yeah, Mr. Chair, I have Senate Bill 1069, and I'll have, I move to roll my bill into Senator Favola's bill.
You want, okay. All right, that makes it a little easier. All right, there's been a motion and a second.
Second.
To roll Senator Parker's bill into Senator Favola's bill. It's 1069 and 481. All those in favor of doing that, vote aye. Nay, and opposed, nay. All right. It's now before you. Want to explain your bill, exactly what the mechanics are?
Yes, I do. This is just paid sick days. What my bill does is it would require any employer with 15 employees or more to provide up to 5 paid sick days a year. An individual would start accruing the sick days as soon as they started work, but they couldn't collect them or they wouldn't be vested until 90 days after. The effective date of my bill is January 1st, 2021, so there would be time for employers to adjust. The paid sick days could be used for the individual employee or a family member, and that is defined in the bill. So if it would be a child or a parent, and there's a more complete definition. The bill does have a statement in there that for any employee in any employer-employee situation, retaliation for using time off for sick leave would be prohibited. And then, of course, the employer would be expected to provide notice of this provision, and if an employee needed more than 3 days of sick leave, the employee would be expected or could be expected to provide a doctor's note. This is a very common sense bill. It's family friendly, but most importantly, it is a public health bill. Our lower wage workers are not earning paid sick days. They are going to work sick, and we are all suffering from that. 41% of private sector workers in Virginia have no paid sick days, and national studies show that 80% of those without paid sick days really are our low-wage workers, those who are food service workers, and others. And according to the CDC, 50% of the norovirus outbreaks can be traced to food service workers. So I think that's an interesting point. There are also studies out that show children whose parents have no paid sick days are going to school sick and also less likely to receive their vaccines on time. This is the right thing to do on many levels. We do not think it will be a burden, and I would respectfully ask that the committee pass my bill. There probably are some speakers here. We've tried to work with the business sector, and we think this is a moderate approach.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just trying to read your substitute quickly, and I think I'm correct that you previously had 6 workers and it's now to 15.
And now it's at 15.
Okay. Mr.
That's an
Chairman,
improvement, I guess, from what you would say, from your perspective, probably.
I'll save my editorial comment, but as far as the bill, is it now operative on the 90th day of employment? In other words, you can't exercise it before that? Is that right?
Right. If you're a new employee, it would be operative on the 90th day. You'd start accruing it. And I think I have for every 30 hours worked, you would acquire 1 hour of paid sick time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Do you want to take comment first?
Mr. Question and a friendly amendment. The question I have is on lines 35, 36, the Federal Railway Act. There's code existing for that federally. I was wondering why that was needed and if you'd be willing to strike that.
I would view that as a friendly amendment as long as General Counsel tells us definitively that nothing in this act would apply to a federal agency that I'm aware of. So if in fact line 35 seems to be unnecessary, that would be okay to strike it. But I would like to hear that definitively.
Senator Rabin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'm going to hear the question answer first, if you don't mind.
Oh, Senator Sproul.
He has a question.
What do you want to do?
No, he has a question, and I'm waiting on the answer from his question.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Bell, striking employer does not include any agency of the federal government or carriers covered by the Federal Railway Labor Act?
It would be the part after federal government, so starting with strike or carriers through the end of the sentence.
Or employer does not include any agency of the federal government. That could be stricken as well, I guess.
Employer currently is defined under 40.1-2. If any air carrier under the Federal Railway Act met the definition under 40.1-2, then this language would be necessary, but I'm not sure who those carriers are.
Mr. Chairman, my concern on this is there are issues with some of the federal emergencies with transporting critical goods on our as a national security issue. It covers at sea merchant marines and also federal railways. And I think excluding that would be a friendly amendment and would save us troubles. So I so move that we strike the part after federal government through line 36.
That's on line 35. All right, there's a motion before us for an amendment to strike.
There's a period after government on line 35. That's.
Or, in other words, it would end with government, and you'd strike or carriers covered by the Federal Railway
Yes.
Labor Act of 45 USC Section 151. All right, there's a motion, excuse me, there's a motion and a second that we strike that. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Amended.
Mr. Chairman, there was one other friendly amendment I would suggest is that we strike the language, given the fact that we just pushed forward two bills on collective bargaining, that we strike the provisions after line 325, which I think could potentially get in the way of those two bills that just went forward.
So move.
Wait, let me look. Now, what are you striking?
Mr. Chairman, it would be lines 326 through 333. Given the fact that we just combined your bill with Senator Boysko's and moved that forward, which already addressed, that's a repetitive part of the code.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I also move that.
All right, there's a motion to strike lines 326 through 333.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Evans.
Question about this. The amendment, I know what Senator Bell is getting at. It's saying if you already have a collective bargaining agreement, this doesn't apply to you. But I'm wondering, I wouldn't want the people who have a contract, a union contract, to get less leave than people who are captured under this new bill. And if they're getting more and they bargain for that, I think that's fine. I don't know if
Mr. Chair.
If that can be explained to me.
Mr. Chair, I think the point of Senator Bell's amendment is that if there's a collective bargaining agreement, it's that's already an issue that's been subject to whatever the agreement is.
Right.
Whatever the agreement provides. And if the union or the negotiating agent negotiates for more, they get more. If they negotiate for less, they get less.
And that's.
Mr. Chairman, I still have a motion on the floor. There's a second.
Well, it seems to me that if it says here, shall not apply to an employer who's entering into a bona fide collective bargaining agreement on or after July 1st, 2021, with respect to employees that are covered by such, if employees expressly waive the article in such an agreement. Why would you want to take that out?
Actually, my bill, I neglected to say when I was making a presentation, I don't know if this helps the conversation or not.
Madam Chair, we do have a motion, and he displaying. So I'm thanking Mr. Chairman, since you got the answer that we accept the changes she was made. I so move.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we strike lines 26, lines
326.
326 through 333. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it's amended.
And Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to note, my bill does not apply to employers that offer any type of paid time off, and that is in the bill. You may want to take speakers.
Thank you, Mr.
Time, remember, we need to have comment pro and con.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two amendments. The first one is to strike lines 109 through 111. And the second one is to strike line 291.
109 to 111.
Mr. Chairman, 109 through
Okay.
111 extends the provisions of this to other family members as being one of the reasons for exercising it. And line 291, under the civil actions that can be taken if there's a violation of this, it provides for the recovery of attorney's fees, and Virginia is not an attorney fee recovery jurisdiction.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Senator.
Question to Senator Newman. Senator, the first one, extend to other family members. So are you saying just for the employee?
Just the employee.
Yes, sir.
So let's say if the employee is a male or female and the spouse is sick.
Okay, I should correct it. It's for employees, and then there's another provision that deals with a child.
What about the spouse?
Mr. Chairman, I would respond that it would not go to a spouse. It says, the bill says care of a family member. It does not, I don't think, defines family member.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Then I agree with what he's saying, but you know what, we could amend that so it could be if you got the household of a spouse and one spouse is sick and the other needs to stay home. So I can see about the child, but I'm talking about the spouse themselves.
Mr. Chairman.
Wait a minute, I want my question answered. I want my question answered, please. I'm asking Senator Norman.
I understand what you're saying, sir.
It's defined on line 37, family member.
And a child is included in that definition. That gives me pause on the amendment.
I hope I don't open Pandora's box.
I thank Senator Lewis for calling my attention to it, and actually causes greater concern.
So.
It seems to me that it doesn't matter how they use it, they only get 5 days.
That's correct.
And whether they use it because they got 108 temperature or a family member has 108 temperature, it's part of the 5 days.
That's correct.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay?
Mr. Chairman?
5 plus that, it's 5.
5 days, 5 days annually.
Mr. Chairman? That was bothering me. My question, I was getting at the immediate family members. So if that's the case, then if I was in that case, then I got 16 brothers and sisters. So you're saying when one of them gets sick, my father didn't take it off. I got 17 nieces and nephews. One of them is sick, and I get off.
Get 5 days total.
I'm saying, but I'm trying to get at the idea that if a person who works for a company, I can understand about the children and the immediate spouse, but it shouldn't go way beyond everybody. I mean, see, it doesn't specify exactly what you're talking about. So I'm saying that it should be the immediate family, and which including the child and the spouse. But when you put it this way, then any of my brothers and sisters get sick, I can take that 5 days off. It should be for just the family.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond?
Please.
Well, on line 2, line 57, it does talk about, it actually limits, I think, the definition of family member. It talks about a biological child, adopted or foster child, a biological parent, foster parent, step-parent, or adoptive parent, legal guardian of an employee or employee's spouse.
Okay.
Obviously, a spouse, and then a grandparent or grandchild. So I think it addresses where you're heading.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, we need to hear from people who have positive things to say and then people who have negative things to say. All right, first will be the positive, set it at 5 minutes.
Kim Bobo, Director of the Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy. We've worked with the patron for almost a year on this bill. I think we've addressed a lot of the concerns that have been raised. I think it's a great compromise bill and it would help probably about 600,000 workers get some paid sick days who don't have it. It's a modest proposal. It would be a good first step for Virginia. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Jane Ditmar, Deputy Chief Workforce Advisor to the Governor. The Governor supports the concept of earned sick leave. Thank you.
Christy Vance, I'm from Grayson County. I feel that this bill is necessary. I've got many coworkers, and myself included, that have gone to work sick because we could not afford to do otherwise. One coworker of mine just recently injured her foot, came back to work early because she had to pay her bills, and thus injured her foot even more. So she had to be out of work again. So this bill is very imperative to those of us that aren't living high on the hog like some of these other people. Thank you.
Lisa Harris, I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I believe that this bill should be adopted because I work in food service and we are handling people's food. We're taking the time to stand for 2 hours while maybe seriously ill. A lot of my friends and coworkers have injured arms or feet and are forced to stand or lift before their doctor's prescribed time of rest has passed. So I urge you to pass this bill.
Thank you. Next.
Dana Wiggins with the Virginia Poverty Law Center. We associate our comments with the Interfaith Center and support the bill. Thank you.
John Cano with GASA. We have 108,000 members across the Commonwealth. We support this issue. As mentioned by the Senator, this is not just a worker issue, this is a family issue. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Doris Kraus-Mays with the Virginia AFL-CIO, and we stand in support of this bill. We feel it's a good compromise, and therefore we would ask that you please pass the bill. Thank you.
Jason Parker, Building Trades, we support the bill.
By those who have a different opinion.
Good afternoon, good evening. My name's Hobie Bowen. I'm president of Virginia Poultry Federation. I'm speaking today on behalf of the Federation as well as the Coalition for a Strong Virginia Economy, consisting of 26 business groups. The poultry industry is Virginia's largest agricultural sector, contributing billions of dollars to our economy and directly employing about 15,000. Poultry companies provide competitive wages and benefit packages. Unfortunately, this legislation would be costly and challenging to administer in an industry such as ours, where we have a lot of varied hours and shifts. The bill is very prescriptive in setting forth employee rights, but on the other hand, it presents some ambiguity, such as what is reasonable or in good faith with regard to utilizing leave, which can be taken in increments as small as an hour or potentially less. It is certainly punitive should an employer fail to navigate the bill's complex stipulations. In our industry, and I'm sure others, if you are not competitive on compensation and benefits, then you don't get the employees. Scarcity of labor has led to investments in automation in recent years, which has eliminated jobs. Increasing the cost and regulatory burden associated with labor will only further this trend. We're concerned that the bill will add significant costs to staff our facilities and adversely affect Virginia's business climate, and we hope you will oppose the bill. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Hold on.
Oh, do your people don't offer paid sick leave already?
Not as a general rule, no.
Really?
Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee, Nicole Riley with NFIB, representing about 6,000 small business owners. The reason why we have a lot of concerns, we have members who do offer paid sick leave, but the problem is how prescriptive this bill is, and how complicated it will be even for those who already offer it in some ways. Because for many of them, they don't have, most of them, it's a flexible type of policy that they work with their employees. So a number of the specific concerns that I want to point out, number one, there is no cap on the amount of earned leave an employee can accrue and carry over. It only limits the amount they can use in 1 year. So it definitely allows for more that could be accrued within that year that we would then be liable to have to pay for. Also, it does 5 days. Other states that have started this have done 3 days. This policy does require a business owner to keep large amounts of liability on their books, including one, that reinstating a former employee's earned sick leave if they come back within 12 months. Also, the legislation goes so far as if you want to sell your business, this is now a liability that the new owner must take on. The bill also allows now for civil action. No, and an employee can go straight to civil action. They do not have to go through an administrative process with a department. It provides for unlimited payout. This will become a trial lawyer's new retirement plan to go after small businesses. And then secondly, it requires 3 years of record keeping. And it's presumed that the employer has violated this article if they do not retain adequate records. So there's a rebuttable presumption there. So those are the major concerns that we have with this legislation besides the cost. Thank you.
Beck Stanley for the Virginia Agribusiness Council. We oppose this bill.
Kate Baker with Virginia Retail Federation. I'd like to echo the concerns Ms. Riley just said.
Robert Melvin with the Virginia Restaurant Lodging and Travel Association. A lot of our hotel members currently offer paid leave to allow their employees, but the thing is that we have reservations with the impact this could have on the employees and their ability to go and utilize their paid time as they see fit by designating it as having to be for sick leave rather than for vacation time or how they would like to use it. And so we have reservations with the inflexibility of it. And then in addition to that, overall, we're just opposed to the bill. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Brett Vassey, President and CEO of the Virginia Manufacturers Association. I'll just associate my comments with the previous, but I think there's actually a drafting error in the bill. Lines 65 through 67, if you actually look at that as far as the calculation of benefit, it's not 5 hours, it's 68, or 5 days, it's 68 days. So if you do one for 30, it's 68 days, and with the carryover provision, even though there'd be a cap of use of 40 hours in that period, we have no idea how that would be carried over, but our major concern is carryover because very few of our businesses allow carryover. We have very healthy leave policies, but we do not carry these on our books as far as long-term liability. The other thing I would point out just real quickly, on lines 93 through 95, most employers will have a policy where you have to have some sort of a note from a physician if you have extended leave. This requires the employer to pay for the costs of the employer note, which in essence is paying for that doctor's visit. So those are two things we didn't talk about. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman. Can I have a question for Senator Favola?
Yes, sir.
Frankly, I missed the carryover provision in this. Where is that?
Let me see if I have the line. It's the person has an actual limit on 5 days per year.
that,
If they
yeah.
don't use it, then they can get,
It carries
monetary
over.
payment. But there is no,
65. Excuse me.
let's see.
78.
Let's see, line
Yes,
65.
78.
I'm sorry.
70, Mr. Chairman, Senator Lewis, if you look at line 78 of the substitute.
Right.
78.
But again, you're still capped the next year at 5 days, so it's not like it's not like you have a rolling
That's what, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, Senator Fulton, that's what it sounds like to me.
That's not my understanding, but I will ask General Counsel. I mean, in lieu of carryover of unused earned paid sick time. So I believe the intent was the individual can earn a maximum of 5 days of sick leave per year. If they do not use that 5 days, I read this to mean it could be carried over or they could receive pay, but I will ask staff if that's the correct reading.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, can you repeat the question?
Sure. We're reading line 78 on page 3. And the debate is exactly how would you calculate carried over leave? And my understanding is an individual earns a maximum of 5 sick days a year. If they do not use those sick days, they can cash out or carry over some. Is that correct?
Well,
I
they
have
can
an
carry
expert
over
here.
any unused paid sick. Senator Favola, if you look at line 66, an employee shall not use more than 40 hours of earned paid sick time in a year. Was the intent there an employee shall not earn more?
No. If the employee does not use the 40 hours in that year, that's the question.
If I may, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Ben Hoyne with the Virginia Interfaith Center. So the intent is that, yes, you cannot accrue more than 40 hours in a year, nor can you use more than 40 hours in a year. I think the concern with the carryovers, let's say I've accrued 40 hours this year, and then it's January 5th, and I get sick. So the hope would be you don't reset to 0 on January 5th. But again, you can never use more than 40 hours in 1 year. So if I'm using all 40 of those hours the first week in January, after I've been there for 5 years, that's fine. I've used my allotment for the calendar year. There's no requirement to pay these out. So it's not a cost to the employer. Additionally, while you can accrue unlimited amount of hours, you can only use 40 in a year. So if I have 1 million hours in my bank, but I can only use 40 in a year, and I'm not going to be paid out for them when I leave, what does it really matter how many I've actually accrued?
I think the example we were trying to correct for is if an individual starts a new year, again, an employee who's been working with the company starts a new year on January 1st and gets sick on January 2nd, the company could forward the 5 days. Or they would have them. They could forward them for that year, but that's still all they could use for that year. And that, I think, is where that language, that was the example the language was trying to correct for. But if you think we've overcorrected.
I mean, if that's what you're doing, Mr. Chairman, if that's what you're doing, I'm okay with it. But I mean, I'm not, I see what you're saying.
You're not sure it's that clear?
And there's no compensation for any unused.
It specifically says that in the legislation.
Okay.
Or
maybe not.
Could be.
I'm sorry?
Compensated.
If they wanted to be.
Could be. There is, I mean, the compensation's optional.
Mr. Chairman.
Dick. Sounds like we need some here.
Mr. Chairman, I think Senator Lewis is right. I mean, I think it does say that, and I think it does say that you can, you'll have to, or you need to pay it out.
Okay. We can work on a line amendment now, or I'm happy to remove that language. That would be okay with us.
Mr. Chairman, it is, we've got it in ours, and there are a lot of other rich programs that have carryovers, but I don't know if you have it in a minimum policy, right? So I'd like to move that maybe we take out the rollover in this minimum policy, and that we don't do that here. It takes out the ambiguity, it takes out the payback and all that.
Nothing shall be construed as requiring financial.
78 to 82 at least.
That's fine. I'd just like to hear the lines that you want to take out. So we're deleting lines 78 through 80, 2. Is that- yeah.
282.
Okay.
All right, there's a motion and a second to amend the amendment in nature of a substitute to Senate Bill 481, in which we delete lines 78, 79, 80, 81, and 82. Is there a second? Second. All right, all those in favor of that amendment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the amendment's been adopted. Okay? All right. You got, the two remaining people got 44 seconds.
Oh, so sorry.
Thank you,
Transmit.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Mindy Carlin. I represent the Northern Virginia Chamber Partnership. I think that the nature of the discussion that you've all had since this bill was raised really helps to make the case for why this is really complex, and it might be a good idea to carry this over and allow more work. I know that the enactment date is delayed to January 1, 2021 anyway, and so that would only result in a 6-month delay. So I urge you to consider.
What's complicated about this?
Well, I'll leave that for you to determine. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Eric Risen with the Virginia Chamber of Commerce. We appreciate the discussion and the work on this bill, and although we still are opposed to it, we see a pathway forward. Thank you.
Yes.
Tracy Boehner, representing American Airlines. I know you all had a discussion earlier about the exemption for operating airlines in the region, in the state on this. We would really like to have an exemption so that we could have uniform rules across the country for our airlines as they operate. I believe you've taken that reference to the Railway Labor Act out, and that would mean we might have very different rules here in Virginia than we would have anywhere else. That's our concern about the bill, just that we already offer sick leave benefits.
Tracy, the reality is you could say that with virtually every law we pass here. Minimum wage, hey, let's have it what it is across the country. You can't do that. I mean, we're in charge of Virginia.
I understand.
Okay, we can't take into consideration what's happening in California or New Mexico or South Dakota. We're only responsible for what's here. I don't see anything that's unreasonable about 5 days sick leave.
It's not that, it's that if the accrual portion, calculation are different in different
We
states.
just took that out.
Okay. Okay, again, I've said my piece. Thank you.
Okay. One more. That's
Oh, be nice.
Jeff Palmer on behalf of United Airlines, just to echo what Ms. Baynard said, there's very few industries where you start off in Virginia, end up in California then in the same day, and there's people that are traveling through here all the time. And
Well, you want us to adopt California's laws?
We just think that.
I think we just did.
I don't think so. Not even close.
The federal government has preempted action as it relates to railways
All right.
and airlines for that reason, so we would ask for that exemption to go back in.
Okay. All right, the bill's before us.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Bell.
I think the one unless it was already corrected, Council, I actually did the calculation on the accrual of hours, and if to get to 5 days per year, it would be 1 hour for every 400 hours work versus the way it was before, it would account to, by my math, 66 days.
So you're on line 65? Okay, and you would like us to, all employees shall accrue a minimum of 1 hour of earned paid sick time for every, is it? They were trying to get the math so it gets to 5 days. It's capped.
Okay.
It's capped. Right. We said it's capped, but they would like the calculation to reach the cap.
So the calculation is, and this is standard in the states that have done this around the country, is that you accrue at 1 hour for every 30 hours worked, but you can only accrue up to 40 hours a year. And again, that's kind of the standard that has been adopted around the state. Now, we are way lower than others in terms of the number of workers covered. But I think we should keep it at 1 hour for every 30 hours worked.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I would add on that is it says it doesn't say the accrual the same way you just described it.
Right.
It just says you can't use more than 40 hours.
So
The
we should- we
accrual's
should put a
not in there the way you just
We need
said
to
it.
put a sentence in here then that says all employees shall accrue minimum of 1 hour of earned paid sick time for every 30 hours work with a capped at,
Accrual cap.
accrual.
I mean, because the next sentence just says that you cannot use more than 40 hours, but the accrual is not addressed.
Line 66, you could say an employee shall not accrue or use.
He wants it in the same line.
Sure.
So with an accrual of no more than 40 hours? Okay.
I think that would fix it.
Okay. Do you want to offer that? I can offer that.
I would offer that friendly amendment.
All right.
That the accrual would not be more than 40 hours.
What lines?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Bell, line 66, after not, insert accrue or, so we read employees shall not accrue
line
or use more
56
than
after
40
what?
hours. Line 66, after
Oh,
not,
66.
an employee shall not accrue or use more than 40 hours of earned paid sick time in a year.
Okay. You've heard the amendment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it's been adopted.
Thank you.
We need to move this thing along. Do I hear a motion to report? Hold on, we're not finished amending. Senator Norman.
Mr. Chairman, I want to revisit and make a motion that we delete line 291, which allows for the recovery of attorney's fees if there is a cause of action. And the reason is, if you look at 289, that if in fact the terms of this bill are violated and an employee brings the action, first of all, they get twice the amount that was under consideration, so they get 2 times that amount. And then, in addition to that, they are allowed to recover any other damages that they can demonstrate.
So you're just, what do you eliminate? Just attorney's fees?
Just little I, number 2, 291.
Or you're going to hear from Senator Peterson. All right.
I hear from him every day.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to eliminate reasonable attorney's fees and.
So the
Mr. Chairman?
person won't be able to get their attorney's fees.
Senator's rule.
I want to know from a lawyer, I never heard a lawyer say reasonable attorney fee. So I want to know, what do you mean by that? Lawyers, I ain't gonna say they rip you off, I won't say that. I have never heard one say that a reasonable attorney fee. I like to hear one lawyer tell me, what is the reasonable attorney fee?
Could you explain what the reasonable attorney?
It is in the eye of the beholder.
Thank you so much.
Okay, motion and a second for us to eliminate 291. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Record your noes. Raise your hand. All right, Senator Evan and Senator Deeds are a no. Okay. All right, there's a motion and a second to report Senate Bill 480, substitute Senate 481 as amended numerous times. All those in favor?
Appreciate it.
Finance.
Refer.
All right, it has to go to report and refer to finance.
I did submit a budget amendment for 200,000 for 2 additional.
Okay, so you've got a budget amendment
I did
in.
submit a budget
All right.
amendment for
Okay.
enforcement.
All right, all those in favor, record your vote aye.
Ayes 12, noes 3.
All right, ayes 12.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
All right.
Mr. Chairman? Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman?
Senator Evan, you want, which one is yours?
It's 838.
838. All right, let's give your attention to Senate Bill 838.
Mr. Chairman, while he's speaking, question to you.
Senator Spruill?
I want to know, we keep referring bills up to finance. Do we have the money up there now? We got to be broke by now.
If you don't, they're all going to have the clause put on it.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to try and be quick because I think this is, I hope at its root, it's a simple concept. When you work, should you be paid for your work? When I was in college, I worked 3 jobs at once, and if I was not paid from gig economy jobs or from small business jobs or any kind of job, it would have been major hit on me. And right now in Virginia, most employees do not have the ability to sue employers for wage theft unless they proceed through breach of contract, which only allows them to reclaim wages, and lawyers rarely, if ever, take on such cases. Currently, contractors are not liable for their subcontractors' employment practices. Workers' only legal remedy for unpaid wages is filing a complaint with the understaffed Department of Labor and Industry. If found guilty, the employer must only pay the employee's lost wages, no damages or legal fees. So if I was an employer, a small employer, a subcontractor, it's in my interest, if I'm unscrupulous, to just not pay, and then if I'm caught, so to speak, all I would have to do is pay the back wages. This bill allows legal recourse for employees to sue the employers who withhold the wages. If an employer is found to have withheld wages from an employee, the employer would be liable for the employer's attorney fees, 8% of the wages, and 3 times the unpaid wages. Without some sort of a penalty, there's no incentive to pay people what they're owed. It also makes contractors liable for unscrupulous subcontractors in regards to payment of wages. And there is a substitute for Senate Bill 838. And I
Motion to
could,
adopt the substitute? Second. All right, it's been moved and second to substitute Senate Bill 838 be adopted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it's adopted.
okay. And in terms of briefly why the bill is necessary, there's 10 states in this country that are rated as the best for business in the CNBC 2019 rankings. 9 of them have a private right of action for wage theft. So it's 9 of the best states for business. The only state that doesn't have a wage theft provision is Virginia. And subcontractors often reincorporate or even declare bankruptcy to avoid paying wages. Lack of consequences for general contractors that knowingly hire cheating subcontractors in order to cut costs and underbid honest employers allows bad actors in the industry to erode area wages and standards. I think this committee's heard a lot about misclassification, which is wage theft. That is the gist of the bill. But workers are more likely to receive damages and back pay for wage claims if the general contractors are severally and jointly liable, given the ability of some contractors to reincorporate or declare bankruptcy to avoid payment. I used to be the Chief Deputy Commissioner of Department of Labor and Industry, and I can tell you it's severely understaffed regarding wage investigators. There's only 4 wage investigators for the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. One study on wage theft cases from 2015 to 2020 estimated that the state ordered employers to pay back wages in less than 19% of the cases. That was 736 of 3,948 claims. The state was not able or did not investigate nearly half of the wage claims filed, dismissing 47% without a review. Now, there are some other reasons why they were dismissed, but that's too high a number. So I'm hoping that you will see fit to move forward with this bill. And with that, that's what the bill does.
Okay. All right, those in favor of the bill? All right. Yeah, just quickly, okay?
Yes.
Set it at 5 minutes.
Yes.
Don't worry, we're going to hear both sides.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair, members of the
Quickly.
committee, Greg Ackerman, representing the Carpenters Union. We strongly support this bill. We've
Okay.
talked to way too many workers that have sued subcontractors that have been unable to recover their fees because the
All right.
subcontractors just disappear. Thank you.
How you doing? Neri Kanawi Ortiz, a resident of Spotsylvania County. I was misclassified when I was working, learning the trade back in 1994, 95. And I didn't have an avenue. I didn't have a way of recuperating my money. And this bill will really help people out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Jason Parker, Building Trades, Virginia. It's time to put the consequences back into wage theft. Thank you.
Kim Bobo, Interfaith, also the author of Wage Theft in America, the sort of definitive book on the issue of wage theft. And this bill would go a long way to really helping stop and deter wage theft.
Thank you. Next, welcome.
Hi, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Victoria Leonard, representing the Baltimore-Washington Laborers District Council, and we support this bill.
Okay.
Lou Spencer, Plumbers and Gasfitters, Local Number 5. We support SB 838. Thank you.
Hey.
Jason Asher with the Mid-Atlantic Pipe Trades. We represent the United Association of Plumbers and Steamfitters across Virginia, and we support this bill.
Okay.
Don Slayman, IBEW Local 26 Electrical Workers Union. We support this bill.
John Cano with CASA, and we support this bill.
Doris Kraus Mays, Virginia AFL-CIO, and we support this bill. Thank you.
Okay, those with a different point of view, we think it's okay to steal wages?
Senator, Mr. Chairman, I didn't hear that. Could you say it again? Okay. Mr. Chairman, Gordon Dixon with the Associated General Contractors. Certainly understand Senator Evans' efforts to try and go after subcontractors or third-tier subcontractors who aren't paying their employees' wages. No one wants to be in that position. General contractors don't have necessarily the data that can tell them which subcontractors or sub-subs are on the job sometimes. So it is a little bit of a difficulty for them to be compliant with that component. I'd also say that as far as the generals go, that in essence, they're going to be paying twice. They're already paying subcontractors for the work, and then they're going to be coming back to pay this again. And we think this is probably a little bit heavy. Department of Labor does do a good job. They work hard. They probably need more resources. There's no doubt about that. And so those are the reasons we oppose the bill.
Okay. Julia, welcome.
Julia Hammond on behalf of Associated Builders and Contractors. Similar to what Gordon Dixon just said on behalf of AGC, we certainly do not think, and nor would we want to help any second or third tier sub that isn't paying their people, but for the general contractor, the higher one to be liable, I mean, the criminal penalties have been removed, which is nice, but if we have no knowledge of it, to then be able to come after us for triple wages, et cetera, it's a little bit much. Thank you, sir.
All right. Bills before us.
Mr. Chairman. Very briefly.
Mr. Chairman.
And then Senator Serville.
Sorry, speaking to the bill, and I have a quick motion. First of all, I think I heard somebody say that they shouldn't be able to get whacked for bad stuff if they didn't know about it. I would note the bill requires them to knowingly do something before the bad stuff kicks in. So I don't think that's an issue. But I also just have a technical change. Under subsection G, when there's a civil investigation, the VEC has authority to order prejudgment interest at 8%, and I don't see why the private right of action shouldn't have the 8% in it at all. So I think that down on line 132, after liquidated damages, it also needs to say, in addition to prejudgment interest as set forth in subsection G. Or if council thinks they ought to go in a different place, I just think in the civil action, they ought to be able to get prejudgment interest consistent with subsection G. That's all I'm saying.
Can we take their driver's licenses too?
No, just their firstborn child. The council can figure that out. So I'd so move.
Second. All right. You've heard that. You want to repeat the amendment again?
Council will do it, you may do it.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Sherville, thank you. On line 132, after liquidated damages, add plus interest at an annual rate of 8% accruing from the date the wages were due.
You can do it that way too.
All right. All those in favor of adopting the amendment, say aye. Those opposed,
Aye.
no. Those opposed? All right. All right. Three noes. The usual three. All right. Okay. All right. All right. The bill is before us as amended. All right, there's a
Second.
motion and a second to report as amended, and the amendment nature substitute as amended, Senate Bill 838. Record your vote, and it has to go to finance.
Thank you, members of the committee, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Chairman?
Senator Marsden has a,
Yeah, two motions. Having voted on the prevailing side the previous week, where we PBI'd Senate Bill 855 of Senator Lewis, I would ask that we reconsider that vote.
all right, there's a motion and a second to report in the Senate bill number again.
855.
855. All those in favor of voting to reconsider the vote by which we passed by indefinitely? 855, okay, vote. Okay, Senator Marsden, you have another
Yes. If we, my second motion is that this bill go by until our next meeting.
Okay, that's 855?
855.
All right, the motion is to carry this by for the day. Without objection, it's carried by for the day. All right, Senator Spruill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the first one, Senate Bill 48. Non-payment wage discrimination action prohibit. This bill 48 prohibit an employer from discharging or otherwise discriminate against an employee because such employers has filed any complaint or institute a cause to be instituted in the processing related to failure to pay wages, or has testified about to testify in such procedure. The measures authorize the Commissioner of Labor and Industry to institute proceedings against an employer who has taken such discrimination action. That's what the bill does.
Okay, it's pretty simple. Any questions by the members of the committee? If not, let's hear the people who are supporting the bill. We're going to limit it to 3 minutes, and 3 minutes for those that oppose.
I'm sorry. Hey, Mr. Chairman.
This is support.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
over here. I have a quick question
Senator
for council. So Senator Boysko had a bill that we passed off the floor, I think, on Friday or Thursday, which created a private cause of action for an employer taking retaliatory action against a employee. And the statute we amended read an awful lot like this. And I was curious if council could enlighten me as to how they're different, because you don't know?
I'd have to look at the Boysko bill again. Can you remind me the number?
No, while they're taking testimony, I'll confer with council. Okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I believe that's on misclassification rather than non-payment of wages.
Yeah, it was misclassification.
Okay, I think it was bigger than that, but I'll talk to council about it while you're
All
talking.
right, anyways,
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Ben Hoyne with the Virginia Interfaith Center, representing tens of thousands of people of faith. Pretty straightforward. This bill, right now in Virginia, it's legal to get fired for complaining about not getting paid. So that's pretty egregious. This bill was in front of you, an omnibus bill from Senator Wagner 2 years ago. Delegate Leftwich introduced it in the House last year. And we're hopeful that the third time's a charm and it'll be passed. So you should not get fired for complaining about not getting paid. We urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
all right, next.
Mr. Chair, Jason Parker, Building Trades with support.
Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Robert Field. I work for the Department of Labor and Industry. Governor Northam supports this legislation as necessary.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Those who are opposed to the bill?
Well, can I just ask, and I don't know whether it's for council or the patron,
Sure.
we have frivolous lawsuits in Virginia. This says no employer shall, an employer shall not discharge or in any other manner discriminate against an employee because they filed a complaint. Do they have to prevail in their complaint? I mean, what happens if they file, 10 complaints in 10 different weeks? If they are deliberately harassing an employer, can they fire them then? Or does this bill prevent that?
Mr. Chairman, to answer that question.
I know that, I see all the heads wagging back there, and I know that that isn't your intention, but I'm asking what the language of this bill does.
Senator Obenshain, you think somebody would hang around for 10 weeks in a row after not getting paid? Week after week after week?
What if they are getting paid and are just harassing their employer?
You can, that's, what, $1 billion to 1? That they're gonna do
You'd
that?
be surprised.
You bet, I would be.
So you can file frivolous lawsuits.
Nobody
would do that.
Wouldn't the courts take care of that? All right, Senator Norman. All right. Okay. Anyone in opposition to the bill? No one is. All right, bill's before you.
Move to report.
Has to go to report and refer to finance.
Mr. Chairman, why does it have to go to finance?
Because they asked for it.
Mr. Chairman, question to you. I'm getting a phobia that every time we say finance, it's gonna die.
No, not necessarily.
The money got to be going on finance by this time.
No, the chair's not going yet. No, we haven't spent it all yet, okay?
Mr. Chairman, down here.
Senator Servell.
Sorry, speaking to the bill in a motion, this bill suffers from the same disease as the bill that Senator Peterson caught on Friday, which is that it contains a private right of action for lost wages, but it does not have a reasonable attorney's fees provision. And I don't know any lawyer that would bring a lawsuit over a couple $1,000s because their fees would exceed the value of the claim. And so, Mr. Chairman, I would move that on line 22 after as liquidated damages say and any reasonable attorney's fees.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Newman.
Am I not reading it right? I'm trying my best to vote for some of these, but we keep loading up all the attorney stuff, and we keep having to vote no. And I'm just, at some point, maybe, I know you got to get paid, but it's still,
I'm sorry.
Mr.
Chairman, I withdraw the motion. I'm not reading the bill right.
He took out attorney's fees. You weren't here.
Great. Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. I read the bill as it creating a private right of action. I'm now being told subsection B only says the commission
All
can
right,
sue.
bill's
So I'm fine.
before us.
I'll withdraw
The
it.
motion
Okay.
is to report and refer to finance. All those in favor of reporting and referring to finance, vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Senate Bill 49. 49 is 40.1-291.1, investigation of employer for non-payment of wages. If in the course of an investigation of a complaint of an employer failure or refuse to pay wage in accordance with the requirement of 40.1-29, the commissioner required information creating a reasonable belief that other employees of the same employer may not have been paid wages in accordance with the requirement of the commissioner, shall have the authority to investigate whether the employer has failed or refused to make any requirement payment of wage to other employees of the employer according to the code. If the commissioner finds in the course of such investigation that the employer has violated the provision of 40.1-29, the commissioner may institute proceeding on behalf of the employees against the employer. Such proceedings should be undertaken in accordance with the code that the commissioner should not require written complaints of the violation of the written signed consent of the employee.
All right, you all heard it. Any questions? All right, public comment time. Those in favor of the bill? Be brief.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Ben Hoying, Virginia Interfaith Center again. Senator Wagner had this language 2 years ago, Delegate Leftwich last year. We urge you to support this bill.
All right.
Hi, good evening. I'm Megan Healy, Governor Northam's Chief Workforce Development Advisor. The administration supports this bill.
Jason Parker, Building Trades, we support the bill.
Anyone opposed? All right, bill's before us, and it has to go to, no, it doesn't have to go to.
Lord, praise the Lord. It doesn't have to go to finance.
All right. All right, there's been a motion and a second to report Senate Bill 49, and it does not have to go to finance. All those in favor, record your vote aye. Those opposed, no. All right.
14-0.
Senator Morrison, we do your bill yet? Or is that buy for the week?
No, we took buy.
We took it. Is your bill buy for the day? Well, go ahead. Wait, Senator Peterson, you have a bill?
I've had a bill that's kind of been lurking around for a couple of weeks. I have a substitute that all the major parties have agreed on. This was Senate Bill 504.
Well, we had a note here, buy for the day.
Well,
Did
I don't
you
know why it'd be
authorize
buy for
that?
Excuse me?
Senator Spruill.
Spruill, this is the one I told you about.
Yeah. It was in all the energy bills, but it's. Did we Senator Spruill? That was in your subcommittee.
Mr. Chairman, that was because of the substitute. We have some of the substitute with other bills, and those that, at the time, they did not have the written for everybody to pass out, so we bypassed them there for Sunday.
You don't have the substitute on this? What?
Mr. Chairman.
You do have it.
There were
Now,
a number of energy bills which had substitutes that were dropped at the last moment that were not considered by the subcommittee, and there's a concern about trying to make sure that they are all reconciled. Several of the notes that we had before us to say you need to conform it or cooperate with Senate Bill ABC, and so that's why the decision was made to pass them all by for the day.
Oh. We're going to meet Sunday at 2 o'clock.
I guess that means I got to be there. Okay.
All right. I've got a bill that I'm going to present now. Senator Norman, you may as well take over here. Doing project, doing PLAs, Senate Bill 182. Yeah, and there's a, oh, there. Here goes Louise.
Senate Bill 182, Senator Saslaw.
Okay. Back in 2012, we enacted what was the, for the lack of a better term, the Comstock bill, which banned PLAs on state contracts, not on P3s, but on state contracts. And we got along fine before that came along. And what my bill does is, and it doesn't do anything, it doesn't mandate anything to anybody, it just repeals the Comstock law. And, you know, just give you a few examples in my region. It did not apply to P3s, but the mixing bowl was supposed to be a three-year project, I think, for a little more than 500 million, came in $200 or $300 million over, okay? And it came in $200 or $300 million over. There were 5 deaths. Now take the hot lanes on the Beltway. That project was supposed to be $2.1 billion. It came in, that was a PLA. It came in 6 months ahead of schedule, and $400 million under budget. I've been told that Lane and Bechtel, who are 2 of the biggest highway builders in America, won't do anything that requires a bridge or a tunnel without a PLA. So what this does is it repeals it. And there's an amendment in the nature of a substitute that's been offered by Senator Surville, which, again, it doesn't mandate it. It allows local governments to enter into it. And
Senator
so-
Stanislaw, hold on for a second so we can get a vote on the amendment in the nature of a substitute.
that would be Senator Surville's amendment in the nature of a substitute. What that does is it
We need to
allows
get a
local
vote.
governments to enter into, if they want,
It's
a
been moved and
PLA.
properly second that the amendment in the nature of substitute be agreed to. All in favor, please let know by saying aye. Nays? Senator Stanislaw, the amendment in the nature of substitute has been agreed to.
Okay. Just, from a number standpoint, the average VDOT construction contract, is a little over 7 million, and the average maintenance contract by VDOT is a little over 2 million. Okay? So, like I said, this just, I know, this just repeals the Comstock law, does two things, repeals the Comstock law, and allows if local, that's Senator Surville's amendment, if they want, local governments can enter into one. That's it. That's it.
Questions by member of the committee? Senator Norman?
Senator Stanislaw, just so I'm clear, when Senator Surville starts writing things, it makes me nervous. And so my question is, your bill originally just had it as permissive, and under the amendment in the nature of the substitute, is it still permissive?
Yeah, mine does not require mine does not require either the state or local government to enter into it. Okay? And that's it. And there's some people with positive feelings towards what I'm doing, and I'm sure there's some that don't agree with me. All right?
Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman.
I don't see, who's in queue?
Surville.
Oh, Senator Servo.
Sorry, I move my amendment in the nature of substitute and speaking to that motion.
It's been adopted.
We did?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, okay, great. Well, speaking to that.
Senator Servo, it's getting late.
Yeah, so it's really quick. The only thing that this stub does is just makes it clear that localities may use these. Right now, in the absence of any explicit authority, some localities are concerned they didn't have authority to do it, so this just makes it clear.
I still have Senator Norman in queue.
There's some people that want to speak for it and speak against. So.
Was speakers on both sides?
Yes.
Okay. Form your line. Okay, 5 minutes each side.
Hi, my name is David Allison. I'm the business manager of the Baltimore-Washington Laborers District Council. I'm here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 182 and want to thank Senator Stanislaw for introducing the bill. This bill repeals the PLA ban passed in 2012. It returns to the Commonwealth the opportunity to decide whether a PLA on a state construction project would be in the best interest of the Commonwealth. It is good public policy for the state to have this discretion. That's because PLAs can help ensure large infrastructure projects get completed on time and on budget by ensuring a steady supply of skilled and trained workers. PLAs also support local communities by creating pathways to the middle class and connecting training to employment. PLAs are an important tool to have in the toolbox. Please vote in favor of Senate Bill 182. Thank you.
Jason Parker, Building Trades. These are stabilizing agreements. They're designed as a tool, like Brother said. They help people climb into the middle class. They bring back apprenticeships. They make sure local economies gain the benefit of the jobs that are there. And it's a great thing to have, and there's no reason not to have it being a permissive item.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Greg Ackerman, representing the Carpenters Union. We support this bill.
Don Slayman, IBW Local 26. For the sake of brevity, I'll just say we support the bill.
Lou Spencer, Plumbers and Gas Fitters Local 5. We support project labor agreements. We support Senate Bill 182. Thank you.
Doris Kraus Mays, Virginia AFL-CIO, and we support the bill.
Jason Asher with the Mid-Atlantic Pipe Trades, and we support this bill.
Rick Orange, Local Union 666, Richmond, Virginia. I've worked on these all over the country. They work well.
form partnerships with labor and the community and the business leaders. I support it.
Senator Norman has a question. We're going to line up the opposition. Senator Saslaw?
I'm sure there's people opposed to it.
I think Senator Norman has a question for you, if you would return to the mic.
Senator Saslaw, help me, why are the only people speaking in favor of this unions? Is there not anyone else out there that is concerned?
Because they
about
represent the people who work on these projects. That's why.
Mr. Chairman. Madam Chairman, aren't
Senator
there
Norman.
plenty of non-union workers who are working on these jobs currently?
I'm sure we could find people who are non-union workers who would probably support this. But, you know, I mean, look, I put it in. I didn't recruit either the people to speak for it or against it, okay? I'm sure that there are people who are businessmen who don't have a problem with it, but I didn't go out and find them, and neither did you.
Good afternoon. Ben Brubeck with Associated Builders and Contractors. I speak in opposition to this bill. This bill will create jobs for out-of-state unionized contractors and out-of-state union labor. 2.2% of the construction workforce in Virginia does belong to a union, meaning 98% do not belong to a union. This is going to result in Maryland and DC firms coming in and taking the jobs from small minority women businesses in the state. We've seen this all over the country. 25 states have passed laws similar to Barbara Comstock's bill. All this bill says is that the government cannot mandate a project labor agreement on a publicly financed project. The current statute will allow a project labor agreement, a firm to voluntarily enter into a project labor agreement. We've seen that on the hot lanes. We've seen that on phase 1 and 2 of the Silver Line. What we're saying is that project labor agreements should not be mandated on a project because these increase the cost of construction and they reduce competition. When you mandate a project labor agreement, despite what people have said about this, it forces contractors to hire all or most of their employees from union hiring halls. It means you can't use your own employees. They have to pay union dues, pay union fees, follow union work rules, pay into underfunded union pension plans. Non-union employees working under PLAs would lose 20% of their paychecks as a result of PLAs. It should never be allowed to mandate project labor agreements on any
Senator
project.
Norman has a question for you, sir.
Based on what you're saying, do you think that's why the Baltimore-Washington Union is here today?
Yeah, absolutely. I was looking at the business cards of people who are here testifying in support. Many of these people are not even located in the state that are supportive of it. We represent over 600 contractors and employers that would be impacted by this tremendously. School construction costs, 12 to 18% will go up. Thank you.
One of the biggest ones here.
Sir, can you come to the mic and speak, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Eric Risen with the Virginia Chamber of Commerce. Just seeing the substitute bill now, and lines 14 through 16 just make it more broad, and any of the bodies listed there can mandate a PLA for any public project. So we're concerned for those
Senator
reasons.
Eben, do you have a question of the speaker?
Of the previous speaker from the contractors, the gentleman over there.
Stop the clock for a moment, please.
Yeah, you had talked.
Wait until it gets back, Senator
Okay.
Eben.
Sorry, I couldn't hear the question.
Okay.
Clock
No, sir, I
starts.
wanted to ask you, you said that it drives up cost of a PLA, and I wanted to ask you why the mixing bowl came in a bit under budget and why the Silver Line 1 came in under budget and safer compared to Silver Line 2 that was not built with a PLA.
So it's an interesting question. It's pretty complicated. I'm happy to provide you more information offline. But the bottom line is phase 1 and phase 2 of the Silver Line were conducted under voluntary project labor agreements, meaning the government did not mandate them. Some firms.
Senator Saslaw, sir, could you please continue?
Sure. Some firms were able to actually negotiate the terms of the collective bargaining agreement with their unions. It's something that every company should be able to do if they want to. So this is not a government-mandated project labor agreement, which you were speaking to about phase 2. That's misinformation that's been given to you. As far as the mixing bowl project, projects come in on time and under budget or over budget and not on time for a variety of reasons. I'm not sure that a project labor agreement was the particular reason why that happened there.
Okay, just one clarification, Madam Chair.
Senator Eben, you're eating up his time.
I'm sorry. Okay, well, we'll do it later.
Thanks.
Madam Chair, Gordon Dixon with the Associated General Contractors. I'm not going to add anything that Ben had said, but we have concerns with this. It is anti-small business. for the Virginia small businesses. The majority of small contractors don't know how to do project labor agreements. So what you're going to be doing is opening up the door for large international companies that already know how to do this to have a distinct advantage over the small businesses bidding for the contracts.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Miles Laurie on behalf of the Virginia Transportation Construction Alliance. We do oppose the bill. Senator Saslaw's substitute is much, much more aggressive than simply just getting rid of the Comstock law. And keep in mind, please, the Comstock law, it did not require PLAs. It did not prohibit PLAs. So it vested the decision to use PLAs with the people we think that should be vested with, the companies themselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Banded on state projects.
Hello, members of the committee. My name is John Kalb, Vice President, National Right to Work Committee. On behalf of the vast majority of construction workers who choose not to join a union and the taxpayers of the state, I'm here to urge you to oppose the bill. These discriminatory PLAs don't actually improve production performance of these contracts. I mean, one need only look at the Big Dig in Boston, which came in decades after with billions in cost overruns under a PLA, and they don't prevent strikes either. The San Francisco airport had a project a number of years ago that had a strike despite the PLA. So these are not a panacea. All they are is a giveaway to the union bosses. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Senator Saslaw, you want to wrap it up? There's a technical amendment time. Could you please cover that for us?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Saslaw. On line 16, it says school divisions. That should be school boards.
Oh. It's been moved. The line amendment has been moved and second. All in favor, just say aye.
Madam Chair, I've got a quick question for the patron.
Yes, Senator Lewis.
Senator Saslaw, when you were looking at this, what do other states do? Do they provide a threshold for when these things can be used, project labor agreements, or?
I have not checked on that. Before the advent of the Comstock law, and probably inflation's driven it up since then, but today it's the average maintenance contract, the information given to me this morning by Nick Donahue and Shannon Valentine, Secretary Valentine, is the average maintenance contract was a little over $2 million, and the average construction contract was a little over $7 million. And I don't know what, Miles here the other day proposed a $500 million minimum. $500 million. In other words, he didn't want any. Huh?
To be fair, that was my opening bid.
Yeah. He got down as low as 100 million. So anyway, the answer, I can't answer that question accurately, okay? Essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, this is essentially the bill that I submitted, but he's amended it to allow local governments to do it, or is it broader? Shouldn't be.
Mr. Chairman, the substitute allows public bodies to require PLAs. Public bodies are defined as authority, board, bureau, commission, district.
Requires what?
Public bodies are defined as an authority, board, bureau, commission, district, agency.
But that's it.
And all those entities listed in 14 through 16 under the substitute may require a project labor agreement.
They require?
May require.
May require, yeah. But they don't have to. In other words, it's local option. Okay. I would move the bill as a substitute as amended be reported.
And refer to finance?
And referred to finance. That's what they're asking for.
Okay, the motion is that the bill be reported and referred to finance. All in favor, please vote electronically.
Ayes 12, noes 2.
It's got to go to finance.
Senator Lewis has a bill. said he's got one that's non-controversial. That would be welcome.
831. 831.
Yeah. Where's my green sheet? What'd you do with it?
You got it in your hand.
No, it's, oh, yeah, I did. Damn thing. Keep taking it with me.
Ready?
There you go.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the substitute, I'm
Has
sorry.
anybody seen my backside?
Can you find it in the phone book?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be real quick.
Senate Bill 831.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, let's move the amendment in the nature of substitute.
All right, it's motion to adopt the substitute to 831. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Senator Lewis, you're up.
There's, Mr. Chair, Senator Saslaw, members of the committee, there's peace in the valley on Senate Bill 831. What Senate Bill 831 does is direct that the SCC develop guidelines around a concept called fair market value. And this replaces what has been used, or conceivably replaces what has been used, which is the system's depreciated cost. This is a water or sewer system that's being transferred or being sold. The practice of using fair market value to establish the value and therefore the base rate has become standard in many other states, so we're lagging behind regionally. Fair market value utilizes 3 utility valuation experts, 1 for the purchasing entity, 1 for the selling entity, and 1 for the State Corporation Commission. The average of the 3 appraisers then becomes the basis for the rates following the sale of the asset. It's important to note that to protect consumers, if the average of the 3 appraisers is lower than the sale price of the asset, then the lower number is used to calculate the base rate. So, and again, there's been some discussion, there's been some movement on this, and the substitute represents what I understand is a consensus between the parties and the State Corporation Commission. That's the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any questions of the patron? All right, those in support of the bill?
Good evening, sir. John Albach, President of Aqua, Virginia, and I support this bill. My company does also.
Miles Laurie, on behalf of Virginia American Water, we also support the bill.
Okay, anyone in opposition to the bill? All right, it's before, it's motion to report and refer to, it has to go to finance. 831, that's right. Well, I had one, I think. Good. All right, all those in favor of reporting and referring to finance, Senate Bill 831, say aye. Aye. Okay.
Got to vote. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank the committee.
Senator Morrison, do you want to do
That's what I'm
295 now or Sunday? Sure, you, over here, may as well do it. You wanna
Mr.
go out
Chairman,
front?
I believe we have a substitute. This is 295. Junior. Just for day labor. Yeah. This is the guy's office. No, it can't be that. Mr. Chairman, I move the substitute.
Sir, I passed out the wrong stuff. Is this the one you want? Sorry, it's late.
This is the Delaney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this the one you want? Or that one?
Yeah, this one.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman, I passed out the wrong version.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I might explain the substitute. No, Mr. Chairman, this is just for day laborers, people working for less than 10 days. We've scoped this bill way back. This is designed for the guy who's picked up at a 7-Eleven, to go cut somebody's grass or to work on a little construction project for 3 or 4 days. And what happens is they say, hey, I'll pick you up tomorrow and I'll pay you then. And they don't show up, and the guy has nothing other than a description of the guy to know who to look for.
But Senator
And what
Barnes-
this will, if I might finish, Senator Deeds, what this would do is get these day laborers to make sure that they get this information from people before they get cheated out of the cash they were promised to work for the day. It's for day laborers, doesn't count for anything else, and it's a very junior wage theft bill.
I appreciate the gentleman's intent, Mr. Chairman, but I'm looking over at line 32. If I'm going down to the 7-Eleven to pick up somebody to rake my leaves or cut my grass on Saturday afternoon, I've got to prepare a written disclosure that includes, and I've got to provide him with a written disclosure that's got his name and all this other information on it.
That would be correct, Senator Deeds.
Okay.
And what we're hoping here is that the person who's being picked up, the employee, will ask for that information because they'll learn from these employment centers. We have this problem in Centerville, to ask for this information because when they try to collect their money, go into somebody and say it was a tall guy named Joe with a white truck. That doesn't help them very much. It teaches
Did the
these guys,
tall guy with the white truck have a hunting dog in the back?
I don't know if he does, but if he does, it's in your jurisdiction. So, but that's what this is trying to do, is just deal with the day laborer, the guys that just get cheated on a regular basis by guys who don't show up to pay them, and it just gives them enough information to pursue payment.
It's a daily wage, not hourly wage.
Yeah, this is just mostly just daily wages. I'll give you $15 an hour, or I'll pay you $150 to come
Well,
do this stuff.
that's right, Mr. Chair. If you might hire somebody to work for you for 8 or 9 days, but say I'm going to pay you $12 an hour, or $15 an hour, so it could be an hour employee, just works less than 10 days.
That would be correct. It all depends on how it's explained to the worker, which I think the bill covers.
Mr. Chairman, I know that David's he's passionate about this, and I get kind of the problem, but I think if we hold this over to next year, I think you can get both the passion and the articulation just right, and I would so move.
Okay, this is been passed on the other side.
Oh, no. We'll do the same. I move it and carry over to you.
All right, there's a motion and a second to carry over to the year. All those in favor, vote aye. All those opposed,
Pass 14-0.
All right, the next meeting will be Sunday at 2 o'clock. There's no more business to come before.